Stop so abruptly. So I worked on that and I was waiting for it to get up on Vimeo so it would share better audio. Oh, well, you know, you do the best you can do and you just keep on trudging through. So many things happening around here today. But hi, Lindsay Martin.
Hi, Marley Bird.
I am so happy to be back here with you. It was such a surprise to see this on my calendar.
That was the plan. The plan was to make it so that you were like, I have a thing to do today at noon. then you show up here.
Yeah,
That's
Robin mentioned something briefly about it yesterday, but it kind of just went over my head because I was in the middle of getting everything ready for game day. And it wasn't until I think 2 a.m. this morning that I saw your post and I was like, oh, I am doing something tomorrow. So I was like, well, I better share this so other people know what I'm doing. So yeah, this is great. This is great. This is a whole new podcast, everybody. It will be roughly monthly, roughly sometime in the day.
And roughly around this time of month.
Around this time.
You know what? Everything is fine.
Everything is fine. This true story. This morning, I was in a phone chat. I was in the shower, but I keep my phone up on my guys. I'm always
Marley, you've got to not work at some point.
I still work in the shower. I always do. But I'm in the shower and Robin and Chrissy are like, what are we gonna name it? And like Chrissy was like, we should call it like bird call. And then I was like, maybe something unscripted. And then I'm like, you know what? It's fine. Everything's fine. And then I was like, ooh,
everything's fine.
Maybe that should be called. And then Robin brought it up, and I'm like, that's what it should be called. So it's really the Everything is Fine podcast, but it's fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine with Lindsay, with Marly and Lindsay. So it's so fun. So happy to have a lot of you here joining us from the Marly and Lindsay show from 24 Days of Quickies. You guys asked for it. Apparently Robin and Lindsay are giving it to you. That sounds dirty. I don't mean that dirty, but you know, here it is. And
guys, these are the jokes.
These are the jokes. I even wore, look what shirt I wore today.
I know.
It's my Luisa shirt. I love Luisa from Encanto. I watch that and I cry every time she sings her song.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Encanto.
What? Okay. When we see each other,
I haven't seen, I'm way behind.
Okay, we see each other in 2 weeks.
Yes.
We are going to watch Encanto together because I freaking love that movie. I love it, love it, love it. All right, so we're going to watch it together.
All
right.
Let's before I forget and I have your undivided attention, what day are you getting here so that we can leave?
You're cute.
When do I have to reserve the car? When do I have to reserve the rental van?
Okay, so true. Yesterday at practice, my throwers asked me if I could do the February 4th meet with them. So I think I'm going to go to that meet and then come to you on Sunday. So you said it only takes like 8 hours or something. So I figured if we get the car Sunday night and leave Monday morning, or if we leave, because our hotel, I think, is
Monday morning. Okay. I just needed to know because I was like, it is on a post note on my computer. Rent car. And I'm like, I need to make sure that I rent the car for the right days.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, John, he's like,
on the 7th. So we need to arrive on the 6th.
Yes. And the 5th is Monday. Or the 5th is Sunday. So I was going to come down the 5th. But then John, he was so funny. He goes, why are you driving? Why don't you just fly to Lindsay? If she's getting a car, why don't you just, and then you could just fly home. And I'm like, oh, well, that's an idea.
You could totally do that.
Yeah, that's what I figured too. I mean, even at that, I could leave the night of the 4th. If there's a flight, we can figure it out. Somebody said we are going to a marketing event. I follow these two wonderful female entrepreneur marketers who are, I just love everything they do. And last year we went to their event in Disney World. That was the first time I'd ever been to Disney World. I've been back 4 times now. And so when I was there last year and the tickets went on sale, I literally texted Lindsay. I said, hey, buy this ticket. You're going with me. And she goes, best friend ever. Okay. She just bought, no questions. She's like, okay.
She was like, you need to see that. Okay.
Okay.
I told Dave, I'm going to something with Marley in February. And he's like, great.
I know. You know what? You're going to love it. It's super rejuvenating. It's going to help you think about your business in a different way. And it's been really helpful to me. It was helpful. Brianna went with me last year. She is busy. She's busy with other designers this year and can't come. No, she'll have a good time. But so I'm excited, but we're going to be in New Orleans and I've never been there. And we're going right before Mardi Gras. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
That was part of the reason when you were like, should we just rent a car? And I was like, yes, we should rent a car because I do not want you to have car repairs or me to have car repairs.
Good
call. I'm just going to, I always do this because look, a cousin of mine is an insurance, like she sells insurance. And I called her and I was like, do you really need the insurance when you rent a car? And she was like, oh my God, yes. I was like, oh, what? And she's like, always buy their insurance when you rent a car. I was like, why? And she said, if something happens to the car and they have to fix it, body damage, it's totaled, whatever, you have to pay for the loss of use of that car, and your insurance will never pay for the loss of use, which means you're paying that rental company's daily rate for that car until it's back in the fleet. Do you think they have any need to get it done quickly? No. And like, I have purchased it every time. And I'm going to tell you, I used it once because I was in Texas with a cargo van in an IKEA parking lot, and somebody driving a dually didn't take the turn correctly and cut me off. And it was either hit the back of a car and possibly total it, or run into those giant poles that keep you from running into carts things. Like, they're taller than me. And so I turned hard and I scraped down the side. Worst noise I've ever had in my life. Scraped down the side of the cargo van. And like, we were fine. But like, when I turned the car in, they were like, are you okay? I'm like, yes, we're fine. This is what happened. And they were like, okay. I filled out one piece of paper. I wrote down what happened, that there was no police report because it was in a private parking lot in Texas. And then I walked away.
That's good.
I didn't do anything extra. So every time now I rent a car, I'm like, they're like, do you want the insurance? I'm like, I want the insurance where I hand you the keys and it could be on fire, and I just walk away. And they're like,
okay, good. That's awesome.
So yeah, that is always a thing that I do. So that when I was like, right before Mardi Gras in NOLA, let's just rent a car. But also, having had the conversation with you about like how you like a larger vehicle, that you like it to be wide, I'm just going to go ahead and rent us a full-size SUV.
You are my girl. This is why we love each other.
Well, and to be fair, I probably would have rented like a mid-size SUV because that's what I drive personally, like every day. But my sister came up to visit and she rented a mid-size SUV, and that was not an SUV. That was just a jacked up sedan with a hatchback.
It's funny because when John and I first started dating, I had a Jeep Grand Cherokee. I loved it. It was great, right? So John's just got a work car that's a Jeep Cherokee. I don't know if it's a Grand Cherokee. It's a Jeep Cherokee. It's the same size.
Sure.
But we fit in it significantly differently. Now, I'm convinced they made this car smaller. Absolutely. I did not get bigger. So, like, the car, it's fine. But now, after being in a Suburban, a minivan, my Sequoia, my whatever the heck I drive now, like,
it's an Infinity something.
It's an Infinity something. I never know what they are. So they're large vehicles, and so when I'm sitting there, I'm not touching anybody, right? But when I'm in John's car, like my elbows hitting him, and it's like I feel the heat just like all down. I'm like, oh, this is so annoying. So it's quite crazy. So I'm just a fan of bigger cars. Plus, here's a true story. Josiah, we talked about how now he's 6'4.5". He barely fits in the Ford Edge. And
did you guys get it fixed?
Yeah, we got it fixed.
Oh, nice.
So when John was like, oh, we should try and look for another car for him, I'm like, he can't fit. I'm like, this is not an instance of me trying to get my kid like a bigger car just because I want him to have a bigger car. He can't fit. His legs are too big. Sure. So it's like, all of a sudden there's new concern. Bye, DS. Have a great day. Hope you're doing awesome. So yeah, it's funny stuff. So I think what we should do here is let's kind of give people an idea of what the Everything is Fine podcast is going to be about. Because to me, I mean, I should probably let you talk, but to me, it's not just mainly knitting and crochet. It's Marly and Lindsey.
Yeah, it's like if you were here for the 24 days of quickies, you never know what you're going to get. That's the reality here. It's going to be like Marly and me catching up on life. It's going to be us talking about what's going on with our businesses. It could be a brainstorming session where we have an idea and you guys get to see how that works out. Like there's really no script here. It is really just, look, I'm going to be really honest. I don't get to talk to Marly on a regular basis until Christmas. This is a way I get to talk to Marly on a regular basis. Welcome. Okay. Like she will show up for this. Yeah. She will show up for this because it is live on the internet, but she will not answer her phone.
I don't like actively not answer my phone. Actually, my phone
I know that. It's just that you will turn it off and I'll be like, but I need you.
I know. Like you and I, since 24 Days of Quickies, I think we've talked twice. Because it's been crazy, guys. It's been crazy, but it's good.
It's been insane. And I think the 2 times that we talked,
they were not long conversations.
I think it was like, and that includes text messages, guys. Like, hey, should we rent a car for Marketer's Heart? Yes. That was it.
That was it.
That was it. That was the whole thing.
Right.
Or like, I'm like, I want to text her, what day are you coming in? What is the plan? But I also know that she's doing track and she's getting ready for game day and she's doing all the things. So that text message is going to sit.
Right. Well, and it's funny because prior to yesterday, I would have said I was coming in on the 4th.
Sure.
But after my team, they were like, hey, can we go to this meet? Absolutely. And the meet is at Caden's school. So I'm like, I get to go see Caden too. Anyways, it'll just be really good.
Yeah,
but
no, and that's absolutely. Look, if you want to get here on Sunday night, and we leave Monday morning, that's fine. I don't care.
No, I'm just so excited. I'm excited to be able to talk to you. I'm excited that I can. It's just there are no expectations. Guys, walk into here with no expectations. It'll do yourself a favor. If that's too much for you, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I understand. No. You're good. We can still be friends. But we have no idea what we're going to talk about. And honestly, we haven't talked about anything so long that there's so many different things we could chat. So it's really group.
So this is just like, but
really
also
it's really good.
This is really just like the reality of like, there's so many beautifully edited and managed podcasts in the world.
Yeah.
We ain't got time for that.
Let's just have fun. Can I just tell you that on my side of the screen, Robin is like blurred out because she's behind the screen. She's like the Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. That's all I can see here, like, roar, and it just is cracking me up because she's just sitting over there. And I'm like, what is she doing? So, because
she's just running it behind the scenes. So I don't have any buttons to push. And that way you didn't have to do anything. That's what
I love it. I love it. It's so fun. So where do we start? I mean, I've got so much I want to talk about, but I don't know.
I mean, like, other than just making sure that I had a plan so that I could rent a car, like, we have to figure that out. I don't really.
I do want to talk. I want to talk books real quickly.
Okay. Oh, I've got so many things.
Okay. I want to talk about game day.
Yes.
And then I think those are my 2 bigger ones that I was like, those would be fun to talk about. But is Robin supposed to come on? Is she supposed to come on and interview us?
Yeah, like Robin's in a regular one, Robin's in my plan. And look, it's a loose plan. Okay. It's a loose plan.
No truer words. Jolene.
Girl, she knows us. Okay. She knows us.
I love her so much. I love her so much.
On like a regular, like, this is the first one, so we don't really have like a guest. Yeah. But like, where is this piece of thread? Okay, sorry. It was driving. I'm like, what? But of course, the camera is backwards. It's dyslexic. It's hard. So we would like chit chat. Our plan was like, we would chit chat, like catch up on everything for a couple of minutes, like maybe 25, 30 minutes. And then we bring somebody in and we chat with them and then they leave. And then we talk about like business life, game day, whatever.
You say chat for 15, 20 minutes. You're so cute. Really?
I know.
Like when my husband's like,
but also, Robin and I were like, look, it should be about like 90 minutes, but we know that it's going to be 2 hours plus.
Not even the grocery girls can keep it down that long. Like,
I mean, like, there's just so much going on. And like, look, okay, so I am deep in the Penny Reid universe, just like all of them. I can't escape it. Every time, like, I've read them all, I go on her website to make sure that I can check all the boxes, and I'm like, whoop, missed one.
There's
another one. And then she gets out a new one, and here we are, right back where I was.
Oh, so my book for book club this month, it was my month to choose. So I chose Discovery of Witches. Remember, I told you. Guys, almost half of my book club didn't finish reading it, and the other half was
How is that possible?
I know. One girl stopped when the witch water started. She was like, I'm 308 pages in. I'm done. I can't do anymore. And I was like,
there's not any, there's like 100 pages left.
Right. And so like, no, there's more than that, but still, I mean, I'm like, how do you stop? So that was the first, like, kind of like, I took it took it like a man, I took it like a woman. I was like, it's fine. It's okay. You don't have to like my book. And then the other comment was, I'm so disappointed, Marley. I know you like sex in the books. There's no sex in this book. And I was like, I didn't want to scare you guys. Like,
you want me to start you out?
I said, hey, if you want sex, let me know. You want reverse harem? You want fae on fae? You want vampires and all the things? What do you want? I got it.
I got it all.
You know, so that was the other one. And then there was one woman.
I mean, like, you know what you should do? Not warn them and drop Hunger Like No Other on them. Like, first 10 pages. First 10 pages. Just drop that on them.
Stop right
You're
then.
like, oh, I'm sorry. You didn't think that I was spicy enough? Here you go.
I feel like I won because one woman, she's very much like us. She's like, okay, I started a series. I've got to finish it. So she read all 3. However, she read them. And when there were spots where there was like super description, she was just skimming through. So I feel, to me, I'm like, you don't ever really get immersed in this story then. Like it's painting this picture for yourself and you're never getting there. So I don't think she liked it nearly as much as she should.
Stop.
I don't know.
Stop. Okay. I have a college degree in English literature.
Yes.
I taught grammar for a decade. And the way you get a child to buy into reading a book is being like, it's a movie in your head that you get to pick what it looks like. How do you make a movie if you aren't reading the descriptions?
Mm-hmm. You're just fast forwarding to get the key parts.
No.
To each their own, right? I was like, okay.
No.
I had 2 people who were like, I'm going to read the next one. I was like, when? So.
But girl, next time it's your turn to choose. Girl, I am Hunger Like No Other. Here you go. Because y'all, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but that's what she did to me. So like I read Discovery of Witches and she's like, oh, did you like Discovery of Witches? I'm like, oh my God, I loved it. It was so good. Like I read all 3 of them. They're so good. I hope there's another one. And she's like, oh, they're supposed to be blah, blah, blah. I was like, but now I'm like in a book hole. What do I read? And Marley goes, oh, you could try the Immortals After Dark series. You'd really like that. But just start with the second book. Start with A Hunger Like No Other. I was like, okay. So but
I did preface. I was like, are you okay with like sexy stuff? You were like, girl.
I'm like, yeah.
Yes. And I was like,
and so I was like, totally cool. And like I download the book. And at this point, I didn't have headphones when I was sewing. I had a speaker. Like a Bluetooth speaker that sat beside me when I'm sewing. And I remember specifically, it was like 10 o'clock at night and Dave's office is the other side of the house when we were at home. Right. But if he's in the kitchen, he can hear my speaker because it has to be loud enough to be over my sewing machine. And so I was like, okay. And I'm listening. And I remember I was like maybe 15 minutes in. I was like, oh, we already do. Okay. And I remember I actually paused the book and I was like, okay, Marley Bird. Okay. And then like Dave comes over to like get water, a snack, whatever. And he goes, what are you listening to? And I was like, Marley recommended it. He was like, okay. And then he was like, that's not like Discovery of Witches. I'm like, it's really good. And he's like, oh, do you like it? I'm like, yeah. He's like, is there more than one? I'm like, yeah, it's a series. Having no idea at the time that there were 17 books out. And no clue. And so I was like, yeah, it's really good. I really like it. And so then I finished and I was like, oh my God, I have to read the next one. But I didn't know that series is like a different couple every book. And when I started it and I was like, it's not Lachlan and Emma. I was crushed. And then I really got into it and I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, every book moves the story with a different, okay. And then I was like super into it, but girl, I'm telling you, if she's going to complain there ain't no spiciness in that, you drop Hunger Like No, ooh. You know who else you can drop on her?
I have several.
Girl, you know who else? Girl, I got a couple. You want to like smack somebody in the face? Girl, KF Green.
With the
KF Green series. It's like, wow, okay. And then also Amelia Hutchins. Girl, just any of it.
Yes. She's dirty. Like dirty. Like there's dirty and then there's dirty. She's dirty.
She's dirty.
Super dirty.
Just drop any of those. Because like,
I
mean, like seriously, Amelia Hutchins, just any of it, just like but like there's a KF Breen. It's like a fractured fairy tale of Beauty and the Beast. It's really good. I really liked it. And but like in the first book, I expected it to take like I thought it was gonna be like a more slow burn. And I remember like being 2 hours into the book, I was like, oh.
A Ruin of Roses? Is it a Ruin of Roses?
Ruin of Roses is the first one, yeah.
Okay.
So it's Ruin of Roses, something, there's 4. And like
Throne
the
of
fourth
Ruin.
book,
I don't know.
but Ruin of Roses is the first one.
Yeah.
And the fourth book, I will say she got a little too far, personally, in my opinion, she got a little too far away from the plot line for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But she brought it back around. Totally cool. J.R. Ward, girl, drop that on them. Yes, Karen. All
right, Karen, who's your favorite J.R. Ward character?
Oh, you can't pick one. That's not appropriate.
Oh, I have a couple, but I have one. But I have one that's like Rage is my favorite.
Really?
Yes.
Not mine. Oh, Rage isn't my favorite. I love Rage. But no.
I love Rage.
No. If I had to pick, it's oh my God, I can't think of his name. Oh my God. It's Vicious? The cop.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, have you read Sin's book?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's really where it like that Sin's book, and then there's one after Sin that I've read.
Oh, John Matthew is he just doesn't do it for me. I like Murder.
John Matthew just makes me want to cry.
He's
all the time.
Butch. You like
Butch. Thank you, Awkward and Crafty. Yes, Butch. I love Butch. But also, like, I just have a very special place in my heart for Wrath. I really do.
I was gonna say that too. Wrath. I
love Wrath. Because I remember when you recommended those books to me and you were like, I want to see how you feel about Wrath. I'm like, well, I'm Italian, so probably good. And I was like, oh, the character's name is Wrath. I didn't know.
Oh, it's so funny.
So that was a funny thing. But like, yeah.
I also I'm trying to see who it was. It's the two brothers, but it's the one that was like Torment. It's not Torment. It's the ones one of them becomes the like big guy that's supposed to impregnate everybody, and the other one is the one that got Bella pregnant.
What?
You know who I'm talking about. Somebody's gonna know what I'm talking about. Oh, I love him too. I can't think of his name. Zadist. Yes, Zadist.
Oh, Zadist, yeah.
Love him. Something about his tender heart. Remember, because he couldn't read?
Yeah.
And I love him too. Yeah. Kylie Scott. Yes, Barbara. Yes.
Girl. My dog just
love
arrived.
Kylie Scott. Love Kylie Scott. All right. So that's our book stuff right now. So you're in Penny Readverse. I am actually new to me author. Reminds me a little bit of Sarah J. Maas. Not really into the narrator on Audible, but I'm dealing with it. The first book is called The High Mountain Court by A.K. Mulford.
Okay.
So
I'm going to Audible. Hold please.
So far, it reminds me a little bit of a Court of
High Mountain Court. Oh, there it is.
High Mountain Court. So far, it reminds me a little bit of the a Kotar series, just a little bit. I'm not digging the narrator. I don't like the voices she's using, but I'm gonna go with it. It's been recommended several times, so that's what I am reading right now.
I'm adding that to my wish list.
And I just finished a series that I do not recommend, but I finished it because again, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get in. But it's a reverse harem. Don't ever really like. I'm like, not really into any of this. But it's by Jamin Eve and Jane Washington. It starts.
I like Jamin Eve.
I do too, which is why I went with it. I don't know what the first one's called Trickery, and then I think it goes Persuasion, then Seduction, then Strength, and Neutral, and Pain. Those are the names of these particular gods.
Gotcha.
And then she's married to all 5 of them.
Okay.
I don't know. It's fine. It's different. It was not one of my favorites.
Sure.
Anyways,
so my biggest thing right now is I think I'm in the last 2 books of the Penny Readverse. I keep saying that. I keep saying it. But so I'm reading
yes.
So I'm reading it's by Daisy Prescott and it's called Happy Trail. It's the park rangers, so it's the park rangers in the Smoky Mountains National Forest. And it's super cute. And the thing I like about Daisy Prescott, and she writes a lot of Penny Read books, like Penny Readverse books, is that the problem that the couple has to overcome is very realistic. It's not like, hey, you know, this person lives in New York, this person lives in Tennessee, or it's like a very real thing that real people have to deal with on a regular, which I really appreciate. But I will say that the female narrator in the book that I'm reading needs to learn how to say the word Appalachia. Because if you are not from here, you would say the Appalachian Mountains. If you are from Tennessee, it's the Appalachian Mountains. And she is saying the Appalachian Mountains, and I want to punch her in the teeth every time she does it.
That's awesome.
And like she's, because like it's also being narrated by Chris Brinkley, and like you know how deeply I love Chris Brinkley as a narrator. And like my husband and I even had an entire conversation about Chris Brinkley as a narrator, because I'm like, there's a different cadence to a Tennessee draw that is different than like a Mississippi draw or a Florida draw or a Bama draw. Like it's a different cadence. And I was like, either he's the world's best voice actor or he is from Tennessee.
Oh,
he's from Tennessee.
He's real good. He's real good.
He's really good. I love his voice. And he just does such a good job. But I was going to text you last night, and then I realized we were going to talk this morning. And so I didn't. But when I was driving home, as I'm parking my car, the main character gets to see, like she gets to meet the couple of the Winston brothers in this book. Like,
Love
and
them.
I really love is there's a lot of crossover, and Cletus is almost always in all of them, which like let Penny read.
Best.
But like, so the Ranger, of course, knows them because he works with Drew Runos, and of course Jethro worked with him, so like he knows all the brothers because of course he's worked with all of them. And so she walks into a jam session and she's like, who are all of those very attractive men with beards, right? And she's like, what is this? Is this like a thing in the mountains that I didn't know about? And she goes, what do you call a group of beards? Is it a mob of beards? Is it a like, and like she goes through a couple like collective nouns.
Beards.
It should be a Winston of beards.
Yes.
Winston of beards.
Yes.
And anyone who knows. Rita, I want to read the Code of Conduct, but only books 3 and 4 are on Audible. 1 and 2 are not. And I don't know why. And I'm like, so I'm grumpy about it. Okay. Those are the only 4 I haven't listened to, and I really want to, because it's one couple for 4 stories, and it's one of the Cypher security guys falls in love with a thief. And I'm like, that sounds cute. I would enjoy that. And like, I've tried, but like, I can't get book 1 on Audible. I'm very mad. It's fine. Oh, mispronouncing Archimedes. The other one that drives me nuts is that people mispronounce a bunch, or maybe I'm mispronouncing it, but it's the only way I've ever heard it, is oh God, no, I can't think of it. But every time I hear it, I actually say it correctly immediately after the narrator, because it makes me so crazy. I don't know why.
I don't know which one it would be.
Because there's more than one, probably. Let's see. It's I can't think of it. God, I don't know.
Okay, so while you're thinking that real quick, I'm gonna say something to Robin real fast. Robin, okay. Thrivecart is live.
Ooh.
Is everything else ready to go? Yes, then I'm hitting publish on the blog post. All right, I'm going to hit publish right now.
That's exciting.
All right, so and it's out there. Pray to God everything goes all right. All right, it's out there. Okay.
Okay, I can't think of the name. I can't think of the word. I know it has to do with like thinking, like pondering something. And I say it as like a more smooth thing, and they like pronounce all the syllables, and it makes me nuts. I'll write it down next time it happens, because it happens at least once a book lately. So there you go.
So I just like this sense of relief.
I know. I can see it on your body.
Feel
right. Better.
Okay. Yes and no. Yes and no. Because it's still sort of a soft thing that we're announcing, but it's good. All right. Books. Everybody's here.
Machination. That one does get me that when they say that one wrong.
That's a big one. I don't know. All right. I love books. Yes. I love knitting and crochet.
Yes.
After 24 days, did you get a chance to knit or crochet? Because I know you were still. I know.
You're adorable.
I know.
So what happened was, my machines broke. And so that left me by myself to finish all of the sewing for Hankmas. So that put me a week behind. And so I printed the postage for Hankmas on January 11th. Or maybe that was the day I hit the mail stream. It was right around Martin Luther King Day. I know that. So I printed the postage, and my sister came into town on the 14th. Oh, so I must have printed the postage on the 13th. My sister came into town on the 14th to help me paint the lobby area of the studio because it needed to be more than a white box up front. And so she came into town, and like we set up the gauntlet on the 13th. And then on the 14th, when she got here, Dave and I pulled orders starting on the 14th. And then my sister got here on the 14th. Dave had a thing to go to. So Dave went to his thing. And then Tracy and I worked on studio stuff, like making color decisions, making a plan. And then we went to Home Depot and spent an obscene amount of money. And then
I saw all the colors. It was pretty impressive.
But the thing that I'm most impressed by, and I haven't taken it before and after because I need to scrape some paint off my mirror, is that my bathroom is white.
You painted the bathroom?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
Even the tile, Marley Bird, because that stuff looked like someone reached into a toilet bowl and smeared the result on the wall.
Yeah.
It was definitely designed by a man, and definitely in the 90s.
Yes.
And did you know that you can paint tile if you scrub it with crud cutter? Like just crud cutter, just scrub it really good with crud cutter. You can paint tile with latex paint.
I did not know this.
Yeah, you can. And then you can paint over it with polyurethane, water-based, and then you're fine.
I did not know this.
Things I learned on the internet this past month.
I was going to say, plus your sister just redid an entire house. So,
yeah.
So she kind of has some wisdom there.
Just a little. And so we did the front. So then on the 14th, so we got a plan. We started the bathroom. And then on the 15th, Dave came in and we started packing orders, and we packed orders until like 3:00 in the morning on the 15th.
Oh my God.
Then we set it all in the back of the studio. I scheduled to pick up for UPS and USPS, but because Monday was Martin Luther King Day, nothing was picked up until Tuesday. And so Tuesday they picked up everything. They picked up everything on Tuesday and my sister left Wednesday morning. Oh and then because I had planner camp the week before that, and then I finished planner camp on Friday. Tracy arrived on Saturday, and then we did that for a week. And then so Thursday, Wednesday, I came into the studio and I was like, okay, I need to finish up a couple of things. And I fell asleep at my desk. I fell asleep at my desk. And Dave was like, well, I'll come in and help you with this last thing and we'll have lunch together. And I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. So Dave shows up with Greek for lunch. And so good. And then I was like, I gotta go home. And I just went home at 2:00 in the afternoon and just slept until I napped from 2 to 3. And then the dog kept me up, and then we ate dinner. And then I slept from 9 to 11. I fell asleep on the couch again. And then I got up and went to bed, and I slept until 10 the next morning.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that was the first time that I'd had a very specific, I'd started to catch up on sleep. Uh-huh. But I have been home for dinner the last 3 nights in a row.
Oh, that's got to feel awesome.
It does. In fact, yesterday morning, Dave was like, are you going to be home for dinner? And I was like, yeah. Why would I not be home for dinner? And he's like, right, Hankmas is over. I'm like, right, Hankmas is over. It's done. It's out the door. It's done. Yeah. And we did have some issues. I had to come in and make comments sold had a whole thing, and oversold things, or I mispacked things. I can't tell what happened. Mm-hmm. There's no way to track it down. And so I had to remake a whole bunch of stuff. So I was making one of everything for a couple of days, which was horrible. And then people were hey, I'm missing this thing. Also happens if you have a long list, your eyes just jump the line. It happens. Yes,
absolutely.
And nobody's been upset. Everybody's been super chill about the whole thing. And I've gotten all of those out the door, and I haven't had another "this is wrong" email in a couple of days. So I feel maybe we're done. Good. But so it was a whole thing. But on Friday of this week, I have a haircut at 1:15. We are packing the car before I go to my haircut. Dave is going to sit in the car with the dog while I get my haircut. And then we are driving to the Great Smoky Mountains because we rented a cabin.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yep. We rented a cabin that's dog friendly. We don't know if there's going to be any spaces for her to run in, but I have internet. So like we'll find a dog park. She can go run until she's a noodle. And our whole plan, like, look, it is minutes. And like, this is one of those places where they have like free passes. Like if you stay here, we have passes to Dollywood and Gatlinburg and all the events that are in that area. And they're all like 5 to 7 minutes from where we're staying. And I'm like, I don't want to leave the house. Like I plan on just sitting on their couch, knitting and watching TV. I have missed so many shows. I am behind on.
Have you watched Wednesday?
I have watched Wednesday.
Oh, it's so good.
So good. And so literally our entire plan is just to go to someone else's house and then not leave for 4 days.
You know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
It's just like if I'm home, I'm like, oh, I'll just run to the office for a minute, or oh, I'll answer that email real quick. If I'm not home, I won't do that.
Yep.
So, and like I love the Smoky Mountains. I think they're beautiful. I love that whole area. I think it's great. And so I think our cabin is in Sevierville, but the way we picked this is so funny because normally like I would pick a cabin like how close is it to things, what kind of amenities does it have? Nope. I was looking at photos and I'm like, who doesn't have the TV mounted above the fireplace?
Right.
That's how, because why? I do not want to do this.
No.
I already have back problems. My chiropractor would literally be like, never again. Never again. So, and like they even say in the listing, like make sure you download your Google directions because at some point on the mountain you'll lose directions and not be able to find the
wow.
So like, but they have high-speed internet. Like they have all the reviews were like, we streamed our favorite shows. I'm like, that's all I care about. And their TV is under the stairs. And it's a big TV on like in a little nook under the stairs. So there's like lots of big picture windows, no glare on the TV because it's behind. Like, I'm like, this is the winner. This one right here.
Awesome.
That was how we picked it. That's
so cool. That's so cool. I won't be other than our trip to New Orleans. Yeah. Is it New Orleans or New Orleans?
Both.
Okay. Besides that, like I don't have any other trips planned until after track season because I just can't do anything.
Yeah.
So y'all can come see me. But that's awesome. Do you know what your knitting project's gonna be?
No. I was gonna text you.
Are you gonna get that yarn?
Oh, I already bought that.
Well, if it comes in
I texted you. I knew you would say yes. I didn't text somebody who was like, you don't need any more yarn. I texted you because I was like, she'll tell me yes. And then she'll give me an idea of what to make. Duh.
I'm a sure thing. That's awesome. Yeah, you should totally just treat yourself to that and just.
Oh, I did. It won't be here probably in time, but a couple of years ago, I bought 4 sweaters worth of yarn.
So I think we did it at the same time, Miss Babs.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was bad influences. So I crocheted what was supposed to be a beret, ended up being a tam, and I ended up calling it a bonnet because that's what it looks like to me.
Well, now I have to see it.
It's a hat because I don't know if I could do it with my hair.
It's super cute.
It works. It's different. You know, I was like, I just want to have something different out there because it goes with a cowl that I haven't seamed together yet. It's ready to be seamed together. It could be a scarf or cowl. But I was part of a hat of the month and scarf of the month thing that a couple other bloggers are doing. So I was like, you know, they needed somebody to jump in for January.
Sure.
So the start of January, I'm like, you know, I could do that. To which Robin kind of laughed at me. She was like, okay. So I did it, but that's what I was making when I was at Disney World was the scarf thing. And then I had to make the hat afterwards. But on top of that, Robin's been working on a new thing that we have coming out called Apricot Lane. So I don't know if Robin wants to come in and talk about everything.
I feel like now is the time for Robin to come in and talk about that.
Robin, hello! There is, and I love that it split right in the middle. It was like,
right?
How did it do that? I feel like
I don't know.
I'm the jam. I'm the jam in the sandwich.
Cool. That was really cool.
That was the best.
So do you want to talk about how do you want to I want you to direct from here on out what we're talking about next. But I have to do a potty break.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's been an hour. I gotta go. All right.
Are we surprised?
No, not surprised in any way, shape, or form.
Look, I think one time I've had to take a potty break, but like teach your bladder, come through.
Right. So, hi everybody. This is going to be like the part of the show where we'll have a guest and they can talk about whatever they want. And just because she doesn't know, because she's gone, it's a complete surprise to Marley. So
Yeah.
Lindsay and I are going to know who's coming on, and I'm just sitting behind the scenes making sure that everything is
Yes,
running.
you're the wizard. She's the
Right,
wizard.
which clearly didn't wizard that well this morning, but you know.
Oh, but you and I were also
our
having a
video didn't work
conversation
at
while we
all.
were waiting for Marley
Yeah.
to show up. Fine.
And so it'll be a complete surprise to Marley, which will be fun to have her react to be like, because when
I'm
they
very
come
excited about
backstage,
that.
Marley can see and she's gonna be like, it's gonna change. But she's not that excited to see me because we talk literally all the time.
What's that
I'm
like?
always excited to see you. I love you.
Yeah.
When
Now,
in doubt, our families are like, who you're on the phone with? It's Robin
It's
or
always
Lindsay. For me.
It's always me. It's always me.
Oh,
Robin.
Dave is like, is it Tracy, Lisa, or Marley?
Yeah. No.
Those are the three people I talk to on the phone. That's it.
Yeah, it's always me. Okay. Before we get too far, because this is episode 1, and some people may not know, because when your guest comes on, I would definitely want to give them a little like a backstory. So before we get too far, I want to know the backstory of how you guys, because not all of your audience may know, how you got into your business.
I'm going to let you go first, Marley.
How I got into knitting and crochet?
Yeah, like, because this wasn't your first job.
No. I was a financial planner with Northwestern Mutual. And while I was there, I was having kids, I was crocheting, I learned to knit, and I fell in love with knitting and crochet. And I distinctly remember emailing one of my best friends, Janine, saying, let's just quit our jobs and open a yarn store. And she was so cute. She's a dear friend, but she sent me an email back. She said, listen, I feel like I need to be very honest and clear with you. I'm not going to be doing that. I love that this is like your dream and what you want to do, but I have no interest in it. Now, mind you, she works in actuarial sciences, yarn store, actuarial, I don't blame her. So, she goes, but I think that if you really love it, that's something you should maybe pursue. Fast forward to I left my job, started the blog. Actually, I started the blog, commented on other people's blogs. Somebody said I was funny and you should start a podcast. So I asked Jeeves what a podcast was. And then I started the podcast. And one of my first interviews of designers was Robin, because she was my first favorite designer. Like when I realized there were designers behind designs, I fell in love with Robin's designs. And so it was after that conversation with Robin, and then I had one with Drew. And Drew, I mentioned to him that I was interested in coming into designing. And he said, if you're interested in that, you should go to the National Needle Arts Association convention. So I went to that with the support of my family, who had to pay me to go. Like my dad and my uncle both gave me money so I could go. And my pitch to them was, listen, on an email, I'm anybody. But if you meet me in person, it's hard to forget me. And so I'm like, let me go sell myself. And so when I went into the booths, I not only was able to be there like, hey, let me design for you. At the same time, let me show you what this podcast is and let me help market you. So I had 2 hats to put on. At that same event is the first time I met Robin, which is the first time I had the designer dinner. And then I've talked about this stuff before. I honestly feel like I'm doing exactly what God wants me to do, because there are too many things in my life that have happened that if there was a book written about it, you wouldn't believe it. Because it's like that does not happen. So yeah, I decided this is what I wanted to do, and I just went for it. So that's kind of how, there's a much longer story, obviously, but that's the big part of it.
Right. Because like everything from there just was like the next step. Mm-hmm. And as we know with Marley, she's always trying something new. Always, wherever her heart goes.
That is that ADHD part of her brain.
That's where we go. And that's how we end up with all these different things, all these different avenues.
Yeah.
All right. So Lindsay, we know that you used to be a teacher. So how did you go from teacher to rock star business owner? Like,
this is going to sound really dark. A lot of tragedy. So
one chapter closes, another one opens.
That is very true. So one of the last Christmases we had with my grandmother, it was right around the time that like Martha Stewart's poncho was a big deal and everybody was learning to knit. And my aunt, my dad's sister, owned a knitting store in Grosse Pointe, Michigan for 23 years. And so we all of my cousins, all like 23 of us, decided that we wanted to knit. And so my aunt shipped a big box of yarn and needles to my grandmother's house and taught us all to knit. Came home from Christmas that year. Look, you need to know my Aunt Jan doesn't think that anything worth doing is worth doing to excess. Okay. Mm-hmm. That is her general philosophy of life. I learned to knit on Addy Turbos and Rowan wool.
Good. Mm-hmm. It's a good way to
as one does.
I taught my kids on Addy Turbos and Bijou Basin Ranch yak yarn.
Okay. So you and Jan would be friends.
I deeply feel that. I've never met her. I feel like we would be friends.
Oh, you would yes.
I absolutely would be friends.
Hundo P. And so
Hundo P.
That's what my sister says. One Hundo P. We're so cool.
That's hilarious.
And so when I got home from Christmas, my mom and my aunt told us to find a good yarn shop. We found a yarn shop, and then I lost a pair of knitting needles. And I went to buy a pair, not knowing how expensive Addies were as a school teacher. And I was like, they're what? And I was like, I can't afford this. So I immediately went home and told my mom, who had been sewing her own clothes since she was a teenager. I had never had a bedroom suit my mother had not sewn. I never had a store-bought comforter or drape in my life. My mom made all of them. So she's a very accomplished seamstress. I'm like, we need to make a needle case that'll hold this stuff because I can't afford to lose it. And we tinkered and tinkered and tinkered and tinkered. And then we finally came up with one and we took it to our local knit night. And I got mine out and got my needles out to start a project. My mom got hers out and got like her notions out or something. And everyone was like, that is so cool. Where did you buy that? And my mom, and I was like, oh, my mom made it. Like, look at her go. And when we were leaving, my mom's friend Leanne asked if she'd make her one. And my mom was like, sure, go to Joann and buy this much of these two things and some ribbon that matches and stick it in my mailbox. I'll make it for you for next week. So then the next Thursday comes around and my mom is like, oh, we're all knitting along, having a great time. We're knitting along. And then my mom looks at Leanne and goes, oh, Leanne, and whips it out of her knitting bag and just tosses it to Leanne across the table. And everybody goes, wait, are you selling those? I want one. I want one. I want one. My mom just like ripped out a receipt and started taking orders. Cause we were super prepared. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, so that knitting group at that store, Bliss Yarns, that I still frequent quite a bit, became our test group. I wish I had a thing that did blank. I wish I had a thing that did blank. The owner of that knitting store at the time, her name was Dana, is the reason that we have project bags, because she couldn't find a good project bag. So like they became our test group. The number of times we would take something in and someone would just buy it off our arm and we would just go home with our stuff in like a plastic bag. A lot. It was a lot. So we had a really great community that surrounded us. And then in 2006, my dad had to have a quadruple bypass. And after he had a quadruple bypass, he was he had a very severe infection in his bone. My dad survived MRSA in his bones. That's a thing that you can survive if you're my dad. Most people don't, but they had to remove his sternum. So like that hard part gone. And you can't put a brace there because your ribs move. It won't ever heal unless you held your breath for 8 months. So that's not going to work. And so my dad lost his job, and then my mom lost her job, and then my parents lost their home, and they moved in with me and Dave. And at the time I was teaching, Dave had some like piddly little hourly job, like nothing serious because it was the height of the recession. And then my parents managed to get a place of like we moved out of my house and moved into a different place that was a little bit bigger. And my mom was like, I have to do something to make money. And so I was like, well, we have to make bags. That's what we can do. Like knitters will buy bags. Like if anything has shown us that from our local group, knitters will buy bags. And my sister's friend worked at Etsy. So we started an Etsy shop. And we sold to our local yarn shop wholesale for like 2 years. And then my Aunt Jan was like, I think this is a business. Like, I think this is a serious business. You could make money at this. You could do it. Like, you're really innovative and you're solving a lot of problems. Like, I think this is a business. This is a business. And we were like, yeah, but we don't have the startup capital. And my Aunt Jan, who taught us to knit, was like, I got capital and she paid for our first booth at Stitches South in 2008, I think.
And that's where I met you.
And that's where I met Marley. She paid for the first 6 bolts of fabric we ever bought wholesale.
Not me, Aunt Jan.
Right.
Yeah. And Aunt Jan was there, but I don't think you guys met. And we had made enough money by like the second night that we were able to pay her back 100%. So we were like, we are just killing it.
Mm-hmm.
But Marley Bird was our very first retail sale ever was Marley Bird. And my mom and I had a rule, only one person can freak out at a time. And my mom was completely freaking out. I need you to know she was not okay. Okay. Like my mom was typically a fairly like keep it together person because my dad had a lot of medical things. So like Hayden Bird. When my dad would say, Lisa, look, okay, my mom, what started the whole thing in 2006 was my dad had really bad heartburn. And then he'd heard somewhere that if you take like Pepto or something, it doesn't clear it up. Chew a baby aspirin. And if it gives you relief, you're having a heart attack, go to the hospital. So he did that. And I remember he was in the kitchen. It was the start of the Winter Olympics. I remember this. He was in the kitchen and he went, we're going to the hospital, Lisa. And my mom just stood up, grabbed her Diet Coke, put her knitting in her purse, grabbed a pair of underwear in case she had to stay overnight, and walked out the door. And she was gone for 3 days. My mother was a pro. So like my mom is and like when the doctor was like, this is what's going on, this is what we have to do. My mom was like, okay. Super cool, super calm, very chill. So when we walked into Stitches South and she was like, we've made a huge mistake. No one's going to buy these stupid bags. We've made a huge mistake. What were we thinking? Oh my God. That was my mom's whole thing. What were we thinking?
At setup. This is before
the whole thing. She's like, this is a mistake. We're never going to pay Jan back. This is awful. Oh my God. I can't believe we're doing this. This is terrible. We spent all this money on all this fabric. We're never going to get this sold. Nothing is ever going to sell. Like literally not a single positive comment coming out of her mouth. Right. And I'm like, Mom, it's going to be fine.
I'm catty quarter from them in the aisle. And so as I'm setting up everything with Bijou Basin, I keep like glancing over and seeing these bags that look awesome. And I'm like, man, this is cool. And this is one of my first stitches. Like, yeah, it's the first
one. It was our very first stitches.
Yeah, it was. I think it was my second one because my first one was Stitches West. It was my second Stitches. I was in the booth setting things, but I kept looking over, and I didn't know I wasn't allowed to purchase before the show floor opened. Like it's a no-no.
We didn't know,
but I kept seeing these women just setting everything up. I would have never known it was their first. I was like, they were ready to go, but I didn't hear them talking a lot. You know what I mean?
I do like to be prepared.
Yeah.
And she walked over and Marley was like, can I buy this bag? And I was like, of course. Right. So like we do the whole transaction. And as Marley's walking away, I turned over and I was like, see, Lisa.
I heard that you hit her. See?
I did. I on the back of her, I went, see, Lisa. And what she did not know was that I was having a complete panic attack. I was like, we've made a huge mistake. No one. Oh my God. People are here for yarn. No one wants bags. What have we done? This is a mistake. Oh my God. Like I'm having a complete meltdown inside my body, but I have to be cool because Mom is having the meltdown.
Yep.
So someone has to be chill. That person is me.
Yep.
And I'm not good. But like then when Marley bought a bag, I was like, okay, we sold at least one thing. We can say we sold something. And so I was like,
neither of us knew each other. Like
no,
I was a nobody. I was a nothing.
No. And I remember
I knew you.
Well, of course you did, Robin. I remember that when we started, I remember when I got my booth assignment, I was like, oh, because directly across the aisle from me was Miss Babs. And I remember going, people will go find Miss Babs. I remember saying that. And Miss Babs, y'all, this is how long ago it was, had 2 booths and only one person helping her in it.
Oh.
Which now
is insane. But like, they were the kindest, most prepared people. When we didn't have something, Babs and Jennifer did. And they were the sweetest across the aisle booth mates we could have asked for. It was wonderful. And like, it really, honestly, I don't know, it would have gone really well if that calming presence of Jennifer Krause had not been there. I'm not going to lie about it. But like, I remember being like, people will go find Miss Babs, so we'll be okay. And then Marley bought that first bag and we were like, okay.
I have it. Everybody's asking for it's guys, I have literally 4 IKEA bins of Erin Lane bags. It was a bucket and it was one of the ones where it was sheep knitting. Like
it was and they still print that fabric.
I know.
I still have some. They still print that fabric.
Because it was funny, because then your dad found out that I had that bag after, like later on, this is a couple later, and he was like, we have this fabric in this bag, and I know that you said you bought this bag. I'm giving you this bag. And I was like,
it was an ultimate. It was
yeah,
an ultimate.
it was.
Because I remember my dad said, "Look, kiddo, she's going places. She's got to not. You need to be friends with her." I'm like, I am friends with her. She's very nice. And he's like, this matches her bag. I'm gonna go give it to her. We can write it off as a marketing expense. I was like, okay, Dad.
It's so cute. So then here she is, master of all bags.
And business. Let's also make this clear, because you're not just making a few bags anymore.
No.
It's running a website, running way more, social media, everything to do with your business.
Just
and
the
managing
purchasing
the whole
aspect
corporation, essentially.
Yeah, the purchasing, the organizing, all of these are their own little tools.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the coolest parts for myself and for you, Linz, is, being that it's like almost 15 years in the business, 15, 16 years. I mean, to watch where we started and where we are now, it's night and day. And then, like, just the other day, Robin and I were looking through a book that's only 10 years old. We're like, wow, maybe 75% of these people are no longer in the business at all. So it's
because, like, I've seen a lot of bag companies that are lovely. I mean, they make lovely things that I'm never going to make ever in my life. Too many pieces. I have a piece limit. That's over my piece limit. Nope. And they've come and gone. I mean, like, I've seen so many dyeing business come and go, so many designers come and go. And it's, I mean, I certainly wouldn't have thought that losing my mother would have made my business grow. Certainly wouldn't have guessed that ever.
Right.
But it is really great. I mean, my mom only really went to maybe 3 or 4 trade shows, if I'm counting correctly. I think it was like 4 she went to before she passed away. But, like, still the number of people who will be like, I knew your mom. She had the best laugh.
Don't make me cry.
Your mom was someone really special.
Isn't that amazing? Like, how those little touches in your life really just change all these directions.
Yeah. I mean, like, when I got my English literature degree, I certainly didn't think that I would be a seamstress for my life. Like, saw that going differently in my mind.
But it's funny because you still use all of those skills all the time. Because you think about, like, teaching, you're still using all of the skills, how to manage a room of children. Now you're managing customers because you know how to keep your cool and be kind no matter who's coming at you.
Right.
And when it comes to all of your copy and everything you do to describe what you're doing, I know what you're talking about because you know how to speak.
Well, I mean, like, I will say that learning to be, like, the only job that makes more decisions per minute than a teacher is an air traffic controller.
Right.
And they have one of the highest suicide rates of any profession. And we wonder why teachers are leaving. Anyway, that's another story. I did it before it was cool. I was just ahead of my time.
Right.
But no, I will say that, like, knowing how to, like, as education changed and having to, like, manage different groups of kids doing different things, that is basically what I do in my business. Like, oh, I need to make sure that this is set up because Michelle's coming in, and I need to make sure that I order that and call this person and do this thing. Like, it's just a matter of, like, juggling. And I don't know that I could have been successful if I hadn't been a teacher. I think that is definitely crucial in my experience. But also I was very lucky. Again, my Aunt Jan was in the industry for 23 years. So I kind of had, like, a built-in mentor system. Like,
which is
all
huge.
of my Aunt Jan's friends were at these trade shows with me. And if I had questions, like, I can still call Barry Klein and he will answer the phone and give me any information that I need. And, like, he is such a precious, precious soul, and I love him. And, like, he gave me the very best advice anyone ever gave me. Do not grow your business any faster than you're comfortable with. It doesn't matter what anybody else says.
Yeah.
And that was the very best piece of business advice I'd ever received. And he was always there being a cheerleader, would always come by my booth and say hi and give me a hug and, like, catch up on what I was going with Jan. And, like, to this day, he's still a person that, like, if I'm really stuck, I can call Barry and he will help me out. So
Yeah.
like, I really did have kind of like a built-in mentor that I know that a lot of people don't, simply because my Aunt Jan had connections.
I was
That's
lucky that I connected
awesome.
with some designers that were willing to
Yeah.
share just enough. Like it's
Yeah.
still very close to the chest. Nobody shares very much. I mean, I overshare with everybody because I'm like, look, I'm just an oversharer. That's who
Right.
I am.
But that feeling of genuinely being with kind and nice people is what made me stay in the industry too. Of having, like, because I used to be a structural engineer. Let's be honest, it was mainly men back then.
Yeah.
Fine people, but like that warm, welcoming embrace of the yarn industry is a lot different than the construction industry.
I'm sure.
I got other
Yeah.
things out of it. But that theme is from every single person that I've ever talked to, was like, they changed my life because of just their kindness and their
Yeah.
joy, or just they're willing to share. And it's clear from both of your stories that it's kind of like the center where it comes from. And then it's just kind of cool. All right.
Yeah.
So
How about you? People want to know about you.
How'd you start? Yeah. I don't know the story. I knew Marley's story.
Oh, okay.
I know Robin's story.
Does Robin know Robin's story? So, okay, before I did any of this, I was a structural engineer. My background was historical renovations. So I do anything from, let's say, somebody has a really cool old mansion, they want to change it into a wedding venue, or there's this historic theater in DC, it's not been used in 100 years, can we renovate it? Or a lot of times, sometimes my building was, hey, this is falling off, so I would have to like rappel off of buildings or bridges or whatever and figure out. So like, I was the person you called
I'm
in.
sorry.
Yeah.
You rappel off of crumbling buildings and bridges?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Robin, you are so amazing.
I'm very outdoorsy. Very outdoorsy.
Outdoorsy.
Mm-hmm. And I like a challenge. So like, I hated new buildings. So like, a lot of my friends were doing like brand new steel buildings that were like huge and amazing in like the design world, but I hated that. No, I like a challenge. Big surprise. I have no idea what this system even is. It kind of looks like gum with some wood, and they just smushed it together. And so that I literally had a research project because I liked the history of it. So then I would dig into it. First, you had to figure out what the material was, and then you have to like find, well, what were they saying this is going to work, and then like, how am I going to make this work for what we want to do? So it was like a research project bundled into an engineering project. I loved it. I loved my job. But that magical recession.
Yeah.
Boop.
That's where I got my start.
Yeah. So I did knitting, crocheting as my hobby. It's what I like doing. I love doing it. And when I couldn't find anything that fit me, because my shape is not in one of those boxes. I don't fit in any of the categories, the shoulders are a different size, and the bust and the waist, everything is different. So I would try making stuff for myself, and it never worked out. So I'm an engineer. I can figure this out. If I can build a building out of concrete, I can build a sweater out of yarn. So I use the same things, and I was just doing it like for myself. And then it was the same reaction when I published, when I approached my first editor of like, hey, would you like my design? The interaction between her and I was so genuine and warm and kind that I was like, I like this. I didn't know it was a job. I was just like, hey, this is fun. Do you want to publish my stuff? Here's some stuff. Like, It wasn't like to like make money. It was like I didn't know nothing. So it went along, and then just kind of snowballed.
Was that with
Editor.
Kim?
Yeah. So like she had like an online magazine, and then it snowballed to like going to all the trade stuff and actually becoming a career. So I had 2 careers going on at once. Like daytime Robin was rappelling off of buildings and making things not fall down. Nighttime Robin was making sweaters. So then the recession hit, and I was 8 months pregnant with Eliana. And it was one of those moments of my boss, because we had a whole company, got down to just him and I running everything, every little last thing. So like we would pretend whoever, like one of us was the secretary every day. Like we would pretend like, oh, look, it's so-and-so. It's your turn to pretend that we actually have a company here. And he was like, listen, I'm super jealous because we're going to have to fold and you're going to have a brand new career to walk into. I'm going to go mow my lawn. Like I got nothing. And it was true. Like we, when I had to quit my job, over half of the entire construction industry was out of work.
Oh my gosh.
Half. My husband is an architect. And so everyone we knew was out of business, out of work, everyone. And I was just like, okay, I'll go do this now.
I'm going to go crochet. Peace out.
Keep in mind, I'm 8 months pregnant. So who's going to hire the lady to rappel off a building when she's waddling?
And you were waddling. You were very pregnant.
You're not a very tall person. Where do you put a baby? Like
that's the problem. Is
you're
that
not a very tall person.
She was just everywhere. And I say that with love. She was just very pregnant.
Oh, she was just very pregnant. Yeah.
Very
I mean,
pregnant.
she's just, you're a very petite person.
Some people love that. I hated every minute of both of my pregnancies. No, thank you. I'm done. All done. Yeah. And so Mark and I, we are very much a give and take kind of couple of like, okay, your turn to kind of support the family, and then I'm going to pursue this. If this works out, well, then I'll do it, and then you can pursue whatever you want to. Like we're very much of making sure that kind of like both of our dreams are coming true, but like kind of like that. Like we each support each other wherever we can, and I had supported him, getting his master's and everything. And so he was like, well, let's give this crochet thing a try. By that point, I had already published 3, maybe 4 books. I can't remember. Like,
oh, wow.
As my like side hustle. And so we were like, well, right, side hustle. So like gave birth, and we're like, well, why don't we see if you can do this full time? And then we also realized that like having us both work on deadlines was probably a pretty bad parenting decision. Like, because engineers and architects are nuts. They work just like we work, where you're like all night long, haven't eaten, haven't showered, haven't slept. It's the same thing. And we were like, maybe one of us should be home for the children at some point in the day. So we're like, we'll give it a try. Can she do it? I was like, sure, I can do it. I can be I was an engineer and a designer. Why couldn't I do it? Well, it turns out it's a lot, really, really hard. Being a mom is really hard. Didn't really
Being a mom is
hardest
really
job
hard.
I've ever done in my life.
Oh my God.
Hardest job. So hard.
That's why I didn't do it. That's why I didn't do it.
It was a big learning curve and got a lot of help. A lot of help. And this whole weird world of designing, editing, doing graphics, it snowballed into a full-time thing. So here I am. But yeah, so that I guess is kind of my background.
As I say, then I commandeered her to come work with me.
Yeah, and then
it was a natural progression. It happens very much so like that with me with many things, but that's kind of how that all happened.
You know what, Marley? Look, I love you, girl. I love you, boo. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's not. I feel like there is some strategy going on because, like, hey, come help me hand out prizes at the PJ park. Hey, just come up here for a minute. It'll be fine. Or like, hey, just come live with me for 24 days of quickies and never leave.
Mm-hmm.
Are you bitching? I don't think you're bitching, right? This is not a bitch. It really is not a plan. Honestly, I think it's like dating. You go on your first date, you have some coffee. It's like, that was fine. Let's do something again. And then before you know it, you're married to me. And it's like, all right. I mean,
but you had to have your best friend call to make sure it was the right guy.
It just exactly. So it's good. Caden is watching on Facebook and he is making today is Josiah's birthday. So Caden, make sure you call your brother and tell him happy birthday. Mm-hmm. My baby is 17, y'all.
Stop.
I've been crying because I'm going to cry as I say this story. I told you guys, he's 6'4.5". He's huge. He's down here. He's over by the stairs and I don't know what I was hugging him and he was hugging me. It was just hugging me so tight. And I go, what happened to the kid that used to say, holds you? Because he'd be on the ground, he'd raise his hands. Holds you, mommy, I hold you. I pick him up because I would ask him, you want me to hold you? So that was his term, right? Now he's this huge monster who's a complete shit. And I love him so much. But I'm like, God,
I love that this beautiful moment.
I know, but it's so fast. But yeah, he's 17 today, and it just doesn't seem real.
I don't like any of this.
And Aiden turns 19 in 2 days.
Stop.
Yeah, I know.
That means Alora is 21
in July.
No.
Yeah. In July. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways. No. That's happening. So hi Caden in Fort Wayne. It's nice to have you here. So now you heard our stories. Now I have a sty. I'm sorry. I'm only mentioning it because I just had to rub my eye and it's like in there. Oh, it hurts so bad.
Warm compresses.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay.
All right. So normally we'd have a guest and we talk, but I wanted to make sure that on the first episode that we could have the history. So we all are starting from the same level playing field, right? Like this is where this show comes around, right? Like it's just friends talking because that frankly is what the industry is. Where all the designs come from, where all the yarn comes from, where all the notions and bags, it comes from that friendship, heart and soul. And that's the whole community. The whole community is where this all comes from. We all fall in love with each other and just want to support each other. And this is where it all comes from.
Look, my Facebook group is called Bag Buddies. Okay. Like I have actually become real life friends with a lot of those people.
I just want to say mine's Marley's Minions, but I did not name it. I did not name it. I did not. These are my minions. I didn't name it. They named themselves way back at the beginning. It was not me.
No, I know you didn't. But I
there are people who think I do, and they're like, "Gosh, she is so egotistical." I'm like, I didn't name it.
What I love, you know what? This is one of my favorite stories too. I was in a booth. I think we were at Midwest, and you were in the booth, and we were chatting, and someone walked in and went, "Oh my God!" And I was like, "I know, it's Marley Bird." And she goes, "No, I was here for you." And I was like, "What?"
I remember that.
What? Yep. Because you were like, "She's here for you." I'm like, "No, she's not. I'm not anybody. I'm a crazy person with a sewing machine and an internet connection."
We're good. We're good. You are right though. We're all friends, which is lovely because I love community, right? I love knitting. I love crocheting. I love it all coming together.
Marley, we became self-aware, hence Minions.
There you go. I love the Marley's Minions. I do
too.
It's such a safe place on the internet. Like it's just,
yes.
I mean, we try and nip any sort of drama, which we don't get very much of in the butt. Like it's just, I just really enjoy it because
it's a place where everybody can cheerlead for everyone else.
Yeah,
exactly. That's there's enough horribleness in the world. Like here is a tiny corner of the internet where we scraped out this tiny little light on the internet.
Yeah,
where like you can come talk about yarn and bags and your pets and be happy.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Right.
All right.
What's next, Robin?
Speaking of our places on the internet,
Yes.
what's going on with both of you? What's new? Who wants to go first?
Marley, go first.
Yeah.
Because people are asking questions. So
They're asking about
about
What?
like
What is new? We
What is
have
new?
like
we
4
know,
new.
Robin and I know, but they don't know.
We got lots of new stuff going on. Where you want to start?
Let's start with the stuff that's coming.
Okay.
So late last year, late December, Robin and I kind of took I want to say we took time off. All that really meant was we were just kind of like, we just let our minds sort of veg out and just kind of just be. And in that time frame, we had, that's where ideas really happen. That's where Robin tells me to just go and be, so that
Yeah,
way I can get the ideas.
Go. She's
So
already
part
good
of
person.
that, we wanted to have a hat extravaganza, to where you get a hat pattern every month the whole year of 2023. And this hat does not count. This is an
that's a
extra
different one.
add-on. So it's not the hat.
This is the hat.
That is the hat. It's a Tunisian in the round bulky hat made with Karen chunky cakes. Is that what it is?
This is sprinkle cake.
Sprinkle cakes. So that will be the very first hat for the hat extravaganza, the year-long Marley Bird year-long hat extravaganza. We didn't want to call it a crochet along or anything. You could absolutely crochet or knit or Tunisian along with it, but more than anything, we're just like, hey, we want to give out a hat pattern every month, have a video that supports it here on YouTube to try and ramp up the YouTube videos that are on here. So that's the first hat.
So this is the first hat. It'll be coming out, and we'll have them generally once a month.
Yeah, that's the goal.
You know,
that's
and
the goal.
And it completely, the year of hat completely goes with whatever floats our boat. So we're not saying that they're going to be easy, they're going to be this, they're going to be that. They're going to be whatever we feel like doing. Like this is whatever is on our, normally for Marley and I, it's hats. We like hats.
I like hats.
So it's whatever is on our hook or needles. And so that was what was on my Tunisian hook. So
yeah. So that's, so we don't, I can't tell you like this month it'll be crochet, that month will be knit. We really don't know. Like, and that's our comfortable place, because that allows us to know that this will get done.
Sure.
In a funny turn of events, if things are too planned out for me, they fail. Like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. So, and it kind of just lets Marley and
the fluidity.
Exactly. And that, it's going to be something that we love, because we're not going to put out anything that, a lot of times where it's like, we have to do this. It's not always what we love.
No. So
don't cage the bird. This is the new rule. Jolene.
The bird. Yeah.
Don't cage the bird. That's good. But that's exactly what it's like. So it allows our creativity to just kind of just be, and you guys get to enjoy that with the year-long hat extravaganza. So we have that. Then I'm going to give you a little backstory on this. In 2021, I purchased a 13 different amigurumi, little tiny amigurumi animals from designer Michelle Wilcox. And my goal there at the time was to maybe put some out. Like, I was going to put them on a keychain, and then I was like, well, no, I'm going to make them like this. Like, I just never really knew what I wanted to do with them. I knew I wanted to do something. So again, in an effort to have some more content on YouTube and on the blog, Robin came up with the idea. She goes, what if we did one a month? Because we have 13 of them. What if we did one amigurumi a month and put them out there? And I was like, okay. So I'm thinking about this. I'm mulling it over. I'm like, I can get behind that. And then I was on my way to dinner, I think, and I had this whole epiphany idea. I was like, if we're going to do one a month, why don't we put like a story behind it? And all of these creatures they're all moving to this one area, and we'll call it Apricot Lane. So Apricot Lane is going to start off with, is it Freddy the Fox? I don't remember. It's a fox. So he'll start off the Apricot Lane, and essentially as each month it's the new friend that comes in, and they'll have a little story. And then at the end, my hope is that I will have a children's story to go along with all of this. So if you're interested in making an amigurumi piece and then having the children's story to go with it, you'll have all of that togetger. Yes, I did say amigurumi, everybody. And
you didn't make them though.
I did not make them, but here's the thing. So I'm going to jump to you, but the whole concept of this whole thing excites me so much. I already have on my list things that I want to make. First time in my entire life, I've ever thought to myself, I want to make a whale.
Mhm.
I want to make a narwhal. I
Mhm.
want to do these things.
Mhm.
So,
Who are you
that's
and what are you? Are you trying to sue her for
exactly.
help?
I
But
Who
you know
are
know.
what?
you?
That's
Is
the
it the
thing.
pod
It's
person?
something, the imagination part of it all just really got me super excited about it.
Yep.
And so I pitched it to Robin. She's like, I like the idea. I pitched it to you. You were like, that's
I
a
love
great
it.
idea. Because again, English major, I'm like, I've never written a story before.
I actually know how to format a children's book. I had to take an entire class on it in
Well,
college.
so I have a story in the back of my head that's kind of been running in the back of my head a little bit as I just think about it. I'm like, oh, well, that's really cute. So I keep jotting down little note things, ideas. But that's coming along. So, anyways, I pitch it to Robin. She's like, this is great. But she takes the fox that was original, Michelle Wilcox. It's still going to be called a Michelle Wilcox design,
Yeah.
but she improved it in different areas and tweaked it and then made different sizes with different yarn to show how it could be made in this little tiny yarn, a little bit bigger yarn, really big yarn. And then it's so there's a whole concept here of things
Do you
you can
have
do.
the fox next to you?
No, I think it's in this box.
Okay. Yeah, because that was the whole idea. Like, there's a lot of amigurumi out there. We're not trying to
Amigurumi is literally the reason why I need to learn to crochet.
we're not trying to do anything, but
Like my daughter.
it's near and dear to my heart. Like, I love it. Marley's not as much of a fan, but now, as you can see, this is what happens when you become partners with me. I just worm my way in there.
I hadn't opened it yet because I wasn't ready to take pictures, but I knew what was in here. So I was like,
So that was the whole idea, is because what does this pattern look like in lots of different yarns? Because you can use anything when you do amigurumi. I'm not a purist in any way, shape, or form of like, you have to do this, you have to do that. So the whole concept was that you can use anything from tiny little sport weight and you get something like a cute little keychain, which they originally were, or you can put them on like a lovey, all the way up to the super bulky, the blanket yarn, and you get a little
Look
stuffy.
at how adorable they are! Oh my god!
so cute.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm fine.
They're
It's
really
fine.
cute.
I'm
So
fine.
this one is Brava Sport. So I'll start with that one.
He's the little guy.
I'm trying to get my head out of camera.
It's okay. The bigger ones might work out better.
I don't know why it's not working.
There it goes.
Here
He's
he
so
is.
cute. Look at his little arms. His
Mhm.
little tail. Oh my god.
His little tail makes him stand up. It's really funny.
Shut up.
It's really
He's
funny.
adorable. Oh my god. Okay.
All right. So that's that one. These are super precious. So this one's Brava worsted.
Right.
And there's two here.
Because they have to have a buddy.
Well, yeah.
They can't have just one.
I don't know why it won't.
You need to have, a friend.
Come on. Come on, camera. Well, here.
Yeah, next to your. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the worsted version.
Mm-hmm.
So they are a little bigger. Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Hold on. I gotta put I'll forget.
Yeah. She's got to put them all back in the bags.
No, absolutely.
Nice
Stay
and
organized.
organized. Yeah.
This is why I didn't open the box.
Mm-hmm.
Robin, you're a bad influence.
Yeah, I am.
All right. And then should I bring out the lovey too?
No, that's not as exciting as that guy. That guy's really cute.
He's so cute.
It is so adorable.
And they're so squishy and soft. So like, it is literally, they're going to be free patterns on the website. They won't be like gigantic tutorials, but they'll be whatever you need for that little person. And
I'm putting them all in here.
Just for fun. Just something to spark your creativity, to keep you having fun crocheting. That's where those are. That's that whole new series. So we have those two new series.
Mm-hmm. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Go ahead. She's really going to be right back.
What?
And then what Marley put out today. So let's get that banner out. The big event coming up. We have
Where did January go? Like,
yeah, it is already time for game day. So today Marley put out the game day mystery make along. It is out there. You can click the link. It's in the comments.
y'all,
And
I've seen what the mystery make along is. I'm so excited.
yeah, very few people have. You. And so new this year, it's going to be something we have not done before. So it's nothing that you've seen.
It's brand new.
It's nothing. It is something small. So the mystery make along is something you can get done the whole day. I know now you're the jam in the sandwich and I'm the bread.
So I'm gonna try this. Oh, it did work.
Still the jam.
Oh, no, I always have to be the bread.
Yeah. So this came out today. So it is on Super Bowl Sunday, and basically today you can get the list and start gathering your supplies. And this is early for us, so be kind. We're going to talk more about it tomorrow when we are live with Caitlin, so you'll hear lots about it coming up. But we literally clicked it live while we were talking today. And the reason why is you need lots of supplies this year.
Yeah.
It's really hard to not give away what it is, but let's put it this way. You need to go get, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. It's going to be fine.
Hold on. I'm going to start off by saying we worked with another person to put together kits.
Right.
Yeah. So someone asked if there would be more kits. I think the kits are sold out.
No
way.
No, there's no way.
Someone asked if there would be more kits in the chat a bit ago.
No, I think they meant like with us in Destination Lane.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was like, no way those are sold out yet.
No.
I didn't know. I mean,
it's possible, but I don't think so.
No.
I had no idea how many kits were available, so I assume it sells out. If it's you, I assume it sells out.
I think it's pretty obvious what we're gonna make, but we're not gonna say it because we're not gonna say it. We're not gonna say it.
We're not gonna say it.
But let's put it this way. For me, if you're gonna follow along with me and crochet,
do you want me to get thread? Down to that?
No, it doesn't matter. You need thread, okay? For Marley, you need sport weight yarn. And for this year, we want you to go buy a kit that our good friend Jill Weissman put together for us to go get all of the beads and findings you may need. You can guess what we're making when you hear Jill Weissman. If you don't know who she is, and you may or may not be looking for another hobby, I'm just saying it's like reading the books that the ladies talk about. You're going to get hooked. Jill makes some of the most fantastic jewelry you can imagine, but she also has video tutorials to tell you how to do everything. So she teaches you everything. It's not just like, and she has a kit and all the stuff and every kind of bead or finding you could ever need. She has.
And her story is very similar to ours on how she started and where she is now. And fun fact, the whole reason I'm on YouTube is because of Jill Weissman.
Yep.
Yeah. So like this whole thing is pretty amazing for us. So Marley contacted Jill and was like, hey, I know this is out of left field. Robin and I are always a hot mess. Is there any chance you can make these kits for us? Because people need things for our next make along. And if they go buy it at a big box store, one, they're going to get the wrong things. It's going to be way too expensive for them. And she is a rock star and said yes. No one should say yes to us because we're crazy.
I mean, I'm talking, this was last week. This is not like...
That sounds right. But that also sounds like Jill.
And she put together an entire kit that you can buy. So you could go buy the thread and the yarn at We Crochet or Knit Picks, and you can buy the kit from her and you have what you need.
The kits are really reasonably priced.
They are.
So
that's
incredible.
The thing. I want to point this out. So you still need to buy your tools. So your yarn and your tools, you'll have to buy. They are not included in the kit.
Right.
But
So for crocheters, obviously, you need a hook. For knitters, you need a knitting needle. And all
size
of the
what?
things are written on the website, because Marley's very specific with what kind of knitting needle you need.
Well,
But
I suggest it.
I suggest it. It's just going to work out better for you. But we also need tools. So like when obviously we're dealing with beads, and so you're going to need a large beading needle. For crocheters, it's not in your kit, so you need to go buy it. Knitters, it is in your kit. You don't need to buy it. It's all written down.
These are all separated out, knitting and crochet. So
you
can
have separate things. Everything is separated. But both of you are going to need wire cutters, because big surprise, if we're dealing with jewelry, there you might need to cut some wire. And you're going to need pliers. You may have this around your house.
Yeah.
So like if you have a well-stocked tool shed, or like I'm the handyman in my house, I already had that stuff.
Same.
Now, but we link to things that will make your life easier in general. So there's lots of things there. We listed all of the beading supplies you need. If you, for some reason, don't want to buy Jill's kit, you can go out and buy your own, or see if you have your own stuff. We're not telling you not to. If you want to, it's just everything that Jill has put together for you, the quality is like 8 times nicer. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah. And you don't have to buy, you're not going to have extra. Like it's put together exactly what you need.
Yeah. She gave you extra, but like not in like the, now I can
what do I do with all of this stuff?
Mountain of extra stuff.
Right.
There's a lot of nuances in there, and there's a lot of more stuff. No, I haven't even gotten to that part.
Okay. All right, so keep going with what you're saying. So the stuff.
And so I don't even know what I was saying, but let's get to the sale. Let's be honest. We adore We Crochet, and we're going to talk more about them tomorrow.
On their own podcast.
But not only are they giving you a sale on what we're actually using, the thread and the yarn, they're giving you a sale on everything.
Shut up!
Everything.
And so this is not like a, hey, this is for Marley's Minions. So if you're a Marley's Minions, you don't have to prove it. But like, because you're hearing it from us first, they did it for us.
Yeah.
Like this is a sale specifically for us. And Caitlin, you all know Caitlin, she is fantastic. She's like, Marley, what if I made it to where, if they wanted to get other stuff, they could, because I know you've used our yarn in Camp Colorwork, in By Crafty, in Turkey Trot and Tournament of Stitches. She's like, they could get anything they want. Let's just make it across the board.
Right. And this is why we wanted to mention Apricot Lane or the hats, because if you wanted to buy more stuff, there's a sale. No matter what you want to buy, we'll have something for that.
And sort of a side note, y'all, Knit Picks has the same yarn that We Crochet has. So it's sometimes easier to buy from We Crochet, just so you know. It's supposed to be that the coupon works for both Knit Picks and We Crochet. And I don't think there's a limit on how many times you can use it. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I think I remember reading that from Caitlin. But it's 20% off everything at the store with the exception of the Independent Designer Program. So anything that's in the store,
I'm not shopping. It's fine.
No,
the stuff.
But, I mean,
there's so much stuff.
It's a great deal. And just so you guys, those are my affiliate links. So if you use those links, then I make a little money. It doesn't cost you anything extra. But that's a big thing. And so one thing I want to point out, go ahead. Yeah.
Perchance something I'm interested in is already on sale. Does the coupon work on sale items as well?
Yeah. I honestly don't know, but I think so.
Yeah.
Mama's buying a sweater. Do I have time to knit it? No. Am I buying one?
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's how it worked last time.
Yeah.
Which was nuts to me.
Yeah,
all right. Marley, I'm going to let you go. Lindsay, don't forget to mention what you have, but I'm going to have to run. Okay.
She's got to go do mommy duty. All right.
I got to go do mom. Bye.
All right. So one of the things, there's a lot more supplies in this year's game day than normal. It is what it is. But for me, you need one ball of yarn. And guys, I've made 3 samples. and look how much yarn I still have. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna have a lot of yarn for one ball. You can make several different things. But we tried to keep the yarn amounts low, knowing that there's so much other stuff that you need to get. But listen, this is an accessory that anybody can wear. It is seasonless. You can wear it any season. You can wear it anywhere around the world.
It is going to start a conversation.
So for everybody who's like, I live in the South and I can't make a hat because I'm never going to wear it. It's not a hat.
Not a hat.
Not a hat. I literally am trying. We're stepping out of the box, guys. We're trying something completely new. You're going to like it. You're going to like it. The kits make things super easier, but maybe you're somebody who already likes to dabble with beads like me. Like you guys really can't see, but I have beads everywhere right now.
Oh, girl, I know about your beads, girl.
They are everywhere right now. Everywhere. But like maybe you're somebody who already has some of the tool part stuff that you don't need to go get any. And you're just like, well, I've got beads. I wonder if I could just pull some together here and see what I have. So it might be that you have all this on hand, because if you're anything like me, you can walk through that Michael's aisle and you're like 40% off string beads. Yes, please. Like, seriously, like you guys.
Girl,
this is no joke, y'all.
Because I can't not spend $100.
Yeah, I have so many. And like, I will tell you, this is going to be my biggest recommendation if you don't get the kit, or even if you get the kit and you want to add even more beads to it. These focal bead type strings that you can get at Michael's.
Your screen, make it so that we can see your hands bigger.
Oh, okay. Oh, hold on. I don't want to drop this whole
Don't
bag.
drop the beads.
Okay.
I just think that it'll show what you're talking about.
No, you're absolutely right. So these are just focal beads. And I think I even linked to them in the itemized, not these particular, but these. Get them at Michael's or James beads. I love our beads too, but they have like collections like this, right? Where it's a variety of different focal point beads and just a bunch of accent beads, components and whatnot. My suggestion is that if you're not going to get the kit, or even if you get the kit and you're like, I want a couple extra stuff, grab 2 of these that you like. And if you're somebody who likes symmetry, grab 2 that are the same. That's my biggest piece of advice. And then if you're like, oh, but I kind of like, I don't know, maybe you see some black beads. You're like, oh, those would be kind of cool. Maybe add it into something. Grab those. Or, I mean, they have red or whatever. Like, seriously, you could just, sky is the limit when it comes to this. But I love when to me, these are like the carefully curated colors of yarn. Yeah. They're just beads that are already put together for me.
I love that.
So anyways, those would be my biggest suggestion for the knit one. Completely different for the crochet. I'm talking only for the knit one.
I'm not shopping. I'm totally listening to you.
No, you're good. You're absolutely fine. But the thing here is, yeah, we get it. We get it. This could be the price of the supplies could put you out of this event. I understand that. At the same time, I know that if you decide to even just follow along and get the yarn and seed beads for my project, maybe you just get the yarn and the seed beads.
Sure.
And then the big eye beading needle, you could learn something.
Absolutely.
I would also get the wooden needle.
Yeah.
Or not needle, bead. I don't know. You know what, guys? Honestly, I was trying to think of something different, something that would be unique.
I think it's going to be really great. I really do. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what everybody makes. I think it's going to be one of those things that everybody looks back at and goes, I'm going to do that again. I think it's one of those patterns that people are going to do. I'm going to do that again.
I've used mine already a couple times. Yeah. I have 3 samples. I have used all 3 of them, and I have gotten so many compliments on all 3 of them. And the minute somebody learns that I made it, they're like,
no way.
Really? Like, really? Yeah. And so I'm telling you, they're amazing. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So with that said, I just want to mention this. So we have the sale. As you go through the full blog post, I have not written a sales page for the MVP package yet. So bear with me. That's why I'm calling this like our soft launch. This is like, to me to our friends. Like we're just putting this out there kind of softly, gently, and working through all of this here. This is the yarn I used, was Galileo Sport Weight. It looks like that, and it's kind of like this. My biggest suggestion is choose a color that will go with the, like, coordinate with your beads, not matchy. Like I wouldn't want a bead to be exactly this color.
No.
I want the bead to be able to show up with it.
Right.
But I also will tell you, working with this particular color was very, very hard on my eyes, and I have very bright lights. So I have something in this color too.
Okay.
And I used like golds with it. Golds and tans. Loved it. It was a beautiful, wonderful experience to work with, which, if you guys know me at all, me choosing a tan is like the last thing you'd ever expect.
Last thing.
But I loved working with it.
Are you signaling for help?
I know, right? Amigurumi and tan. What the heck? So choose any of the colors, but that's my biggest thing. Think about the you want to make sure that color. In the same way that you are, if you were doing a color work, anything, if you put the colors together and you squint your eyes and you can't tell them apart, there's not enough contrast. Yeah. Think of it that way. That's the thing that, like, especially if you've done camp color work, that's a way you could, like, that's a framework that you can work within. Mm-hmm. And then just think about how dark it is. Like, if you already have trouble seeing your yarn, like, don't make it to where it's yarn and beads, and it's just really hard. Don't freak out with the size of needle. Okay. Yep. So it's a size 1. Yes, I hear you. You're like, what? Here's the thing. And I know these particular needles are expensive, and I did link to these because I wanted them to be like, look, if you're looking to go, like, cost is no problem, these are the ones I recommend. But really, it's the point, guys. Yeah. You want ones that are pointy, because I used some needles on one of my samples that were blunt, and it was a bitch. Like, it just was no fun. So I picked these up, and then one thing to think about is when you're using your size 1s, you can very easily use those for socks and stuff later on. So it's not like they're never going to get used again. So I bought these size 1s. I think they're a 32-inch length with a long needle bit. I never used this part. I purely just used these, but I liked that I didn't have to, if I dropped it, it didn't go anywhere. So I bought these. And then, of course, I have the double points, which are super handy for several of the projects that are in MVP, but specifically for the game day itself.
So we do have a question. I answered it and then realized I should probably ask, is a variegated yarn okay, or do we want to stick with solids? I think
you could use a variegated.
I would think stick with solids for the statement of the beads, but that's me.
So I have a sample where I used a variegated and multicolored beads, and they show up. Okay. It's just a completely different look. So yes, if you could find a variegated sport weight, I don't see why not. Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. So that's the needle thing. So yeah, I did choose to share the signature needle arts link, but like Hayas, Chaigus, really
has that really
pointy. So even the clover bamboo, when you first buy them, they're pretty pointy. But as you use them over time, they dull out. You just don't want to use dull, blunt tips. It just makes the whole experience crappy. So then, of course, as I scroll down the game day kits, so there's 3 kits for each one. There's 3 kits for the crochet. They're priced at $22 a kit. And there's 3 kits for knitting, and they're priced at $25 a kit, as you guys saw that earlier. And each one, they have different supplies in each one. The knitting one has way more beads than the crochet one. The crochet one has a lot more components and stuff, but we just put together those. I mean, Robin told you these were so last minute. I'm so shocked she didn't just be like, we can have one, but she put together 3.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
And she reached out. Here's funny. She reached out to a couple of the companies. She reached out to TerraCast, who, when she said to them, I'm working with Marley Bird, they were like, oh, we know Marley. We met her at a trade show a couple years ago, blah, blah, blah. Sent her a picture of Caitlin and I at their trade show. And it was like, whoa, this is like full circle coming around, right? it was just kind of a fun thing. So there are 3 kits. When you come down here to Notions, these are things these are not in the kit, but you need these. A chenille needle. We've talked about these before.
We know
This
what that is.
This is
Thanks, Dan Burke.
your tapestry needle is going to be too fat for this project. You need a chenille needle. And when I say a chenille needle, they're very, very, very pointy. And then get the ones that have the larger eye, so that way you can get the yarn through. That's what you want. Wire cutters, we talked about that because you're going to be having some wire. I like the little nipper wire cutters because you can really get in there just to make sure nothing's going to scratch anything. Like I hate it when I get things that scratch.
Yeah, like there's a little thing on your earring or like your bracelet. I hate that.
It's just annoying. I hate that. And then chain nose pliers. So needle nose pliers, chain nose pliers. It's the whole different aspect. I don't have them out right now. But they're very helpful. They're very handy to have. Optional items. Let's talk about these real quick. A felt square. When I talk about that, guys, I'm literally talking about like a felted square that you would get like in the crafty kid aisle. Yep. Like this one says it was 33 cents at Hobby Lobby. I don't know how many years ago I bought this. It just helps hold the beads. Like if a bead,
so your beads don't run away off your table.
They don't run away. This one's super cheap. They have more expensive ones like by Beadalon, which is like a bead mat, and I linked to that too. So you have options of things you could do. I did not link to these, but I will say this: these little bead
that's smart.
It's by Beadalon too. It's just a little, it just holds the little seed beads that you're going to have. Can you see my seed beads?
Yeah.
And it's a little felted on it. You could use a regular cup or anything like that, but I do find these handy. I didn't link to them, but I'll just throw that with you. Crimping pliers. That's purely, it's a tool to crimp a crimping tube. We can do it with the chain nose pliers, but it does make it easier with the crimping pliers. However, if you're like, I just don't think I'm going to do this long term or whatever, you can absolutely get by with the chain nose pliers.
Fun fact. Helped myself through college working at a beading store. This is a thing in my life that I did. I will tell you this. If you use chain nose pliers to crimp a bead, it is not as tight a hold as if you use crimping pliers.
Yeah.
There's a reason crimping pliers are crimping pliers and chain nose pliers are chain nose pliers. So if you want this to be a thing you are very proud of, and at the end you are like, I am going to be using this literally every time I possibly can, crimping pliers.
Yes.
So that you don't end up crying later.
And like if you're doing this in a group, you could always share the pliers.
Exactly. Like if you have a group of people near you, buy one set of pliers, you can use them on multiple things and share them.
You
have a finishing party where you all get together and like finish the thing together.
Yeah. You don't need this. It's a bead stopper. It's like a big slinky spring with a coil thingy.
Oh.
I love these. They are not mandatory, but like if you put it on one end of the wire, so as you're doing any sort of beading, it holds everything in place. I like to use them, but they are not a mandatory thing at all. They're absolutely optional. So now let's get down to this. So just like what was written above, if you wanted to do a la carte, like maybe you have some of this, but you want to get other items, like I listed everything a la carte, but all of this stuff is already included, not these particular items, but these materials are included in the kit. So you don't have to do both. It's the kit or the a la carte. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then one color or multicolor to go with the yarn. That's when it comes to the seed beads. I mean, whatever you want to try.
Whatever you want it to look like.
Yep. So that's everything in there. The big eye beading needle, like Robin said, the knitting one comes with that. The crochet one does not. It looks like this. It's like 2 pieces of metal that are like soldered.
Trust me, you will want one.
Yeah, they're super handy. I know you can use floss and stuff, but it just makes it easier.
It's really easier.
It splits apart. Can you see my fingers through it?
No, I mean, we can see your fingers. It's really hard to see the beading needle just because it's so fine a wire.
Yeah. So this is a point up here. It's a needle. You can put your yarn through here. It just makes it's just super easy. Anyways, okay, this year, first year ever, we have a registration for the event page. What we're going to do there is when you register for the event and we get your email address, when the event starts, we'll send you an email that says, hey, it's time for game day.
That's so exciting, Marley.
Right. So the first clue is going to be released. I don't know as of yet if we're going to send an email every 2 hours. I think that's too much. It might be like we send the first one it started. Hey, it's halftime. How are you doing? Here's the email. Just don't forget. And then at the end, it'll be like, hey, you finished. Make sure you post it here for a chance to get prizes. And then don't forget, like this free pattern leaves the blog at this date. And if you want to get if you like what you're doing, you want to check out MVP, here's this. So that's sort of the registration thing. The Marley's Minions group, we already talked about that. You want to get your materials, mark your calendar. If you're doing the free version, you want to make sure you have this blog post linked. We all know how to do that. If you come up here to that little lock button, you can just drag it to your Marley Bird folder, and it's already in there. So you know that's where you're going to come back to every 2 hours, because I'm going to keep scrolling. This is a video that Robin and I are going to do tomorrow. There are prizes. You can go back and read about all the prizes and stuff. Here's the registration form again. Just you would click that and it would take you to the registration page. Down here, just like any other free event we do, you guys, we list all of the plays or the clues down at the very bottom of the blog post. So as each one of these are released, that little click here will be highlighted. It'll be hyperlinked, and you'll be able to click on that to get where the instructions are for that hour. Okay, so that's how all that works. This is just another advertising of, hey, if you're liking it so far, check out Member Vault for the VIP, MVP, blah blah blah. There is
an MVP both knit and crochet, or are they separate?
Individual.
Okay.
And I will talk about that here in a minute on why we did it that way. But yeah, it's every 2 hours, so on and so forth. Another ad. Don't forget, there's bingo after the whole game day is done. We have bingo. That card will be added later. We aren't ready to add that card yet, but you'll have a bingo card to play that and have a chance to win free patterns. And that's the whole event. So I'm going to come up here. I'm scrolling, so don't get a headache.
Don't get nauseous. Look away. Avert your eyes.
Look away. I know it's a long post. Imagine writing this, guys. It's a lot of content. I'm going to where the top is, and here we are. So first time ever. Last turkey trot, you guys know we did silver platter. It's the first time we made it so that everything was together in one place, trying to help people understand what the Marley Birdhouse is about. And it's a great way to do events and workshops like this in a cultured environment, a curated environment, right? That's what you're essentially paying for, is the curation of all this knowledge in one place. And it's like taking a course if you were at a Stitches or a Vogue or a yarn store or whatever. It's all in one place, and you get to take it whenever you want, however you want, any time of day. It's unlimited access. So what we did with Turkey Trot was we had it all in one thing.
Yeah.
Okay. With the MVP packages, there's one that's for knit and one that's for crochet. And the reason for that is there's so much content that we are adding in that's like the add value content, that it was easier to have one knit, one crochet, instead of having it be a buy crafty event. So it was better to split them up so that they are their own entity. And so that's why it's either the knit or the crochet this time around. So we did price them down. Each one of those are like, when you add up, we figured about $100 if you were to take a project course, base course at an event or something. And then you have 3 other project workshop courses that are in there. So it's 3 other patterns plus all the instruction videos to go with those, plus a $10 coupon for Ravelry. I can't remember what else, but anyways, it all adds up to $450. Our normal price for this after the event is, I don't know when we're going to take off we talked about taking off the today price on the 11th, like as the event starts. Yeah. So, and I'm going to stick with that. So up until the 12th, like it'll be $17 up until the 12th. After that, it'll be $25. That's what it's going to be. But it's $17. Each one is $17 right now.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is also only going to be a limited time offer, meaning we're not going to have it up
So
in the birdhouse.
It won't be in the birdhouse forever.
As far as for purchase, it'll be in there for access, but not for
Absolutely.
purchase.
But like if I wait until March and try to purchase this, it might not be there.
Exactly. And
Gotcha.
sort of a side note, at the end of this month, silver platter goes away too. It's going
Okay.
into the vault. So
Gotcha.
it goes away too. So this is very similar to the Marley Bird First Fall, which is in the vault. Silver platter goes in the vault at the end of this month. It's all located in the Marley Bird House. So you will have, if you want to do the knit one, you could purchase the knit one. If you want to do the crochet one, you could purchase the crochet one. You can buy both if you want to. There's not a discount. Like that's, believe it or not, guys, there's a whole lot of extra work that goes into building up any sort of structure like that. So this is the easiest for us to be able to make this work. So it's $17 for unlimited access to the project workshop and videos. So that's about $100 if you were to take that course somewhere. You get the halftime live Q&A only inside the member vault. You get the ad-free PDF for each section inside of Member Vault, plus the full PDF at the end. So you don't have to go to the links on the website every time and sift through any ads or anything like that, because that's what you're doing. You're buying an ad-free PDF on crack. There's also right? Plus there's the $10 coupon to the Marley Bird Ravelry store, which is not available to use until after the event. Okay, that's sort of a side note. I want to make sure it's in there. The code is in there, but it is not active until after the event. And then you also get 3 additional project workshops and patterns and videos. Each one of those are priced at about $110 each, which is where all the money comes from for all of that. So if you want either one of those, that's how that works. So
if I wanted to buy both of them, can I check out once or have to check out twice?
You have to check out twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody asked that question, so I wanted to make sure.
It is. I'm sorry. You have to check out twice. And you'll get 2 confirmation emails. And if you're already part of the Marley Bird House, if you used your email address that you log into the Marley Bird House with to purchase, it should connect immediately into your birdhouse and it'll all be in there.
Perfect.
So you can click either this one here is the knitting one, or crochet. I'm sorry. This one's crochet. This one's knit. You can click either one. So if I click this, it takes me to the Thrive Cart page. This is your checkout page. We did put in here because we believe so much in Camp Color Work. We're making it so it's the same offer you guys saw at Stash Busting Quickies. I was like, I want to make sure people see this. Or Silver Platter. I don't remember what it was. Silver Platter. Because Camp Color Work is amazing. It's for knitters and crocheters.
It's
but yeah, so you go to this page, fill in your information, and you'll own it. So obviously I tried to make it very clear. This is the crochet. If you want knit, you click on that one and you'll see it looks the same. It's knitting. Okay.
Yep.
So that's the MVP package. There's more to it that I want to add, but I shouldn't even be saying this out. Robin said, don't talk about it. So I can't talk about it. Just know it's worth every penny. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, they always are. I mean, your courses are always extravagantly over, like you always do more than you say you're going to.
Yeah. So that's that.
So
any questions? That's the game day. So this is my soft release, you guys. So
y'all get access to it first, which is great.
Yeah, we haven't even. You guys saw me. I told you I was pushing live.
Yeah, you're pushing live during the thing. So
all right. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to us. Do you see any? I'm gonna take a drink of water because that
was a lot. That was a lot. I was thirsty just listening to you. That was a lot.
Right?
I'm very good at hydrating during these things because I'm like.
I had to go to the bathroom twice. I've drank so much water.
Every time I think about it, I'm like, she needs to take a drink. I take a drink. So there you go. It works out.
There you go.
So right now I'm in the middle of getting the planner cozies. We finished planner camp on like the 12th. We finished planner camp and I did the planner cozies, the little here we go. I've got one. Oh, don't lose that. It's the little for your planner, keeps your planner cozy.
Right.
So we just, I thought I was going to sell the same number I sold last year. That was not the number that I sold. It was a lot more. And it's fine. So yesterday I did all of the stacking. You know how I did that during 24 Days of Quickies where it's like fabric interfacing. I did those stacks yesterday. So I did that. So I'm making planner cozies. And then on Saturday, when Jenny was here, I was lamenting. Do you remember when I told you that I cut like an entire product wrong by 1/2 inch and it was not usable?
Yes.
I was like, Jenny was here and I was cleaning up the studio post Hankmas, and I was like, I need to throw this away because it'll never get used. And Jenny was like, I was like, I'm really having a hard time with it. Like, I put it in a box and I didn't want to throw it away because like it feels really wasteful.
Yeah.
And Jenny was like, well, could you make them into bookmarks? And I was like, yes, I can. Yes. So last night I cut all of those, and I cut all that up into bookmarks, and I'm going to be sewing up one of every fabric today, and I'll be posting those in the Bag Buddies group first for them to grab if they want one. I don't know if anybody's going to want one. I'm going to be really honest. It's a super weird little thing, but like, if you love a book and you love a bookmark, we have those today. So we have those things coming. And I'm not going to make them all up until I know what sells. I'll make what sells. The rest of it, I'll be okay with throwing that away because hopefully it won't be much.
Yeah.
But so I have those bookmarks coming. And then speaking of hydration, we are doing tumblers. So this is Golden Girl tumblers. Like, that's Body White. So the girl that we partner with for this, she does sublimation. And so this is like, you know, those double old tumbler, like what you're drinking out of, what I'm drinking out of. This is I left it here last night. But we have these on the website. I'm super excited about it. Cause look, okay, it comes with 2 lids, which I'm super excited about. Like, it comes with one, like if you want a hot beverage, but this also has a straw. And then this one, there's a straw inside. It's like, I call it a sippy cup. Okay. Like, it's a grown-up sippy cup. Let's just be clear. Okay. Yeah. It's a grown-up sippy cup, but this is the thing I'm the most excited about. You can hook it onto something. Oh. Okay. It's not, it does not take a lot to impress me. I'm just like, I can put it on my bag.
I hear you. I hear you.
Look, how many times have I been somewhere and been like, oh, I wish I had my water bottle. So we have these, and we have Golden Girls mugs on the website, and I'll be taking those down probably by the end of this week so that the girl who makes those for us can get her list together and get those produced and out the door and off her to-do list. But that's what we have going on here. And then the next big thing we're doing, I have to look at my February. February is filling up very quickly. Very quickly. Everybody asked me for an ultimate pre-order. Like my buddies asked me for an ultimate pre-order. Yeah. And I was planning on doing it the last week in January, but that was contingent on the fact that my sewing machines didn't break down, which is not my life. I spent all of my computer money that I'd saved up to buy myself a new computer, spent them on sewing machines. Oh. I bought 3 new sewing machines on January 9th. I bought 3 new sewing machines.
You didn't fix the old ones. You just bought new ones.
Well, the guy who came out to fix them said he got them to run. It only I have some feelings. Okay. So the part that's broken, I have replaced 4 times in one machine and 3 times in the other machine. If you Google how long does an industrial sewing machine last, it's like 25 years. Mm-hmm. My oldest sewing machine was purchased in 2015.
I remember.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what's wrong? Are they
the tension cable that triggers the blade to cut the thread is broken? So I didn't know this, but my service tech, his name's Tommy. We heart Tommy a lot. Tommy's all the hearts, Marley Bird. So he's like, well, do you want me to get this so it runs? And I'm like, well, yeah, that'd be great. He's like, well, I'll have to order the part. I'm like, of course. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So he has the entire machine taken apart. He puts the entire machine back together. And I think he's going to like change some gears to make it run without that cable, right? Nope. Puts the machine back together, turns it on, and presses one button. Machine runs.
How?
Turns the blades off. 2 weeks. 2 weeks without sewing machines. And all I had to do was push one button. One button. It's even bright yellow.
So the blades are not needed.
You can sew without the blades. Yeah. Now, I don't like to sew without the blades because that means that I don't have to pick up a pair of scissors and cut my threads to start the next seam. So the thread, it saves you a bunch of time, but a working sewing machine would have been fine if I'd known that you just press the button.
Why didn't the other guy tell you that?
I asked Tommy that same question. He looked me dead in the face and he goes, yeah, because he doesn't know. That was all the information I needed.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then Tommy, so I have 2 industrial sewing machines that I am trying to get rid of.
That's unreal. I'd make him buy him back.
Girl, that would require me to talk to him. And if I talk to him, it is not, you squeeze an orange, you should get orange. You squeeze Christian, you should get Jesus. You're not getting my Jesus. He had done left the building. I am all out. I'm all out of spaghetti. Just all the revenge in the Italian in me.
Oh my gosh. Because you've been using him for years.
Mm-hmm. Since I bought my first one. And every time my machine breaks, what does he do? Sells me a new machine.
Yeah.
He has no interest in fixing a sewing machine. He doesn't want a service contract. So I bought 3 new sewing machines. But here's the thing. These sewing machines from Tommy. Yes. Different brand. These sewing machines are by Jack. Now, I hate to say this, but if you want to know what my sewing machine looks like, if you look up any of the exposés about fast fashion and Shein, that's the machine they run.
I thought they used like a Juki, Juki or something.
Maybe they do, but all the ones that I've seen, they use a Jack, Jick. I'm looking
it up now.
Okay, it's a Jack A4. If you want to know what my machine looks like, it's a Jack A4.
Okay. Yeah, it looks very similar to a Juki.
It is. For the type of machine that I have, it's literally all the parts are coming from the same place, being put together on the same line, and they put a different sticker on it. That's the reality. But Tommy asked me what I wanted to do with the machines that I no longer want because they don't run, because they need that part. He called Brother International in Memphis, where those heads come up the Mississippi River for distribution from customs. Brother sold out of that part. Why? Because it keeps breaking on all of the machines in the 7,000 line. I have a 7,000 and a 7,100, and they just keep breaking. Well, so he's like, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't want to sell them to anybody near here because I don't want to saddle another business with a problem.
Right.
So I was like, is there a way to fix it and sell it to somebody who is capable of fixing it on their own? And he goes, what I would do is I would take the blades out of it so that there's no reason to use that cord, so that this is not an issue anymore. I was like, great. He goes, I will call Greg over at Robeson Sewing. Robeson Sewing buys whole factories out when they go out of business. So like they have fabric layers that are like $250,000. Oh
my God.
Yeah. So like they have a whole bunch of stuff. And he's like, I'll call Greg, see if Greg wants them. He texts me on Monday. Greg doesn't want them. He has no interest in them because Brother is going to stop making the parts for those 2 machines.
Oh my God.
So had I not made the decision to buy those 3 machines from Tommy, I would be up the creek with no paddle.
Right.
No paddle. My favorite part is that Tommy offered to take my machines and figure out why that cord kept breaking. He told me he would only charge me for the takedown and build. So that's 4 hours of time. Even if it took him like 16, 17 hours to figure out the problem, he wasn't going to charge me that time. Also, he told me to run the machines as long and hard as I possibly can, the new ones, because I have a 30-day warranty on them. If anything goes wrong, he'll just replace it for 30 days.
How did we find Tommy?
I emailed Greg at Robeson Sewing asking for a service contract. And Greg was like, oh, if you need service, we use this guy. Call him. I called Tommy. Here's Tommy.
I'm in shock.
Mm-hmm. My favorite part is the 2 machines that I had figured out that I was probably going to have to replace these machines. So I had done research to find another Brother like I have, which is a 7300, which is their new flagship model. So I was like, they'll have to be supporting that because they haven't put out a 74 or 7500, which is 73 is the top of the line at this time. So I had found someone to sell me those in Atlanta, which means that I was going to have to rent a cargo van, drive to Atlanta, stay with my sister, get up, drive 40 minutes away from my sister in the wrong direction from going home, pick up the sewing machines, strap them down in the cargo van, bring them back to the studio, unload them without assistance, other than me and Dave, return the cargo van. And Tommy told me that he could give me 3 machines and I still saved $500, and that doesn't count the car rental.
Or
so I got
the time.
3 machines for the price of 2.
Or the
Less
time.
than the price of 2.
Wow.
Yeah. He told me a lot of things about my sewing machines that I didn't know, and there's no way to find out. Like, it's not like you can watch a YouTube channel about industrial sewing machines, because who does that? Who has an industrial sewing machine? Like, it's just not a thing.
Right.
And so I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with Brother. So I bought Jack's, because these are the machines. Like, Tommy has like a government contract. So he has a cut and sew facility in his basement. And so he has 5 or 6 women who come in and sew all day, every day, wide open. And so like, he knows. And I was like, is this machine a full automatic machine? So like, I push the pedal, it goes, I heel back, it cuts and lifts the presser foot. I want an automatic machine. He goes, he's like, why would anybody in a facility use anything but an automatic machine? Having to pick up those scissors and cut that set, that's time. Time is money. If I can save you 2 seconds all day long, I've saved myself a bunch of money. I'm like, correct. And so, so he sold me the machines that he's running, and he sold me the machines that he's running. He said, when I bought my machines, I bought, I bought 5, I bought 10 sets of blades. I bought 10 sets of rotary hooks. These are the things that break the most on a machine. They are the parts that move the fastest. Okay. And the most. He's like, yep, they're all gathering dust on my shelf. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because I haven't changed them. I've changed the blades on my Brother 4 times myself. I did it. Hasn't changed the blades. They don't get dull. It is so much quieter. It's not even reasonable how much quieter it is. I forgot my sewing machine was on and left, came in this morning. It was still on. Had no idea.
Wow.
Yeah. And it talks to me when I turn it on. It says, welcome to Sewing Jack. Wish you a happy work. Because it's a Chinese machine. It's a Chinese company. That's fine. But like the truth of it is that these machines are, I hate to say this, these machines are inexpensive enough that if something really terribly goes wrong with them, you can just buy another one.
Wow.
And that's what it's designed for. If it's going to be down for 2 weeks, just buy a different machine, just buy a new one.
Yeah.
Because I told Tommy, my favorite part was that I told Tommy I wanted 3 of them when he gave me the price. I told him I wanted 3 of them on the 9th. He delivered them last Friday.
Wow.
He didn't take a deposit. He just walked out.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what made you decide to call this other company to ask for repair stuff? Because you were just
because Dan never returns a phone call.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, he never returns. He still hasn't called me back. He told me he was going to call me on the 2nd. It is the 24th.
Wow.
And if he does
have a guy that's like as old as dirt, right? His dad's in his 80s. I would say that Dan is probably at his most, maybe in his 60s, maybe. I don't think he's that old. I think he's in his 50s. Okay. And like, Dan's not interested in a service contract. Tommy told me he was going to schedule a time in 3 months to come out and check my machines, pick all the lint out of them, run them, make sure they're running perfectly, all 3 in 3 months. And then at that time we could talk about how he could send somebody, or he could come out every 3 months to make sure my machines were running perfectly. So I was never down ever again. Take my money. Take my money. Take it. Yep. Service contract. Yes, please. Thank you. Wow. So yeah, I spent all of my computer money. I had squirreled away to buy myself a new computer because mine cannot keep up anymore. Right. On sewing machines. Wow. I missed all of this because I was so disconnected. Like I would see you going on live. Yeah. Because I knew you went from the 24 days to Hankmas to planner camp. Then I saw you, like, there was a couple where it was just like general chats. And I'm like, I gotta sleep. I gotta go to sleep.
No. And it was, and the thing that I'm most upset about is that I have all these things to sew and I just want to play with my new sewing machines. Yeah. And I have to do all the prep work first. Wow. So yeah, I just want to play with my sewing machines. It was a significant investment. But so yeah, Brother's discontinuing the parts for the 2 machines that I have. like it was a dry system, which means like the oil isn't in the pan. It's like it pumps through or whatever. What they don't tell you when you buy that machine is if that system breaks, you got a boat anchor. There's nothing to do to fix it.
So maybe Dan doesn't know any of this, and you.
I don't think he does. I don't think he does. And I think that because Tommy asked me how he was like, so Dan gave you my number. I was like, Dan didn't give me your number. And he's like, how'd you get it? And I was like, Robeson Sewing I literally filled out their contact us form. That was it. And they emailed me back and gave me his number. And he's like, oh, I know Greg. I taught Greg how to do his job. Like I trained him. Like, great. And so when he asked me where I got my machines and I told him where I got them, he's like, oh, so Dan and Fred. I was like, yeah. And I love Fred. Fred's delightful. I love Fred. But Fred's in his 80s and, you know, he doesn't feel comfortable driving. He doesn't want to be there. But Dan hasn't taken the time. I guess Dan was always in sales and never took the time to learn how to fix a sewing machine. Like, what happens when Fred is gone? Do you expect all of your customers to buy a new machine when one breaks? Like, are you going to do that with Cintas, like the largest producer of uniforms in the country? Are you going to ask Cintas in Nashville to buy a new machine when one breaks? Is that what you're going to do? Is that your plan?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And like when Cintas has a machine go down and they have hundreds of thousands of, probably thousands of machines in that facility, if I had to guess, of different varieties. But if one of those machines goes down, do you think he makes them wait 2 weeks to have a return phone call?
Absolutely not.
Why? Granted, they've spent a lot more money than I have, but my business makes plenty of money. I can pay for a service contract. Ali says, I'm thinking, yes, he would. Maybe. So Tommy is like, and Tommy told me, he's like, look, I'll stand behind my product. If something happens and this machine goes down, I will be here. I will come down immediately. Absolutely not a problem.
Wow.
Yeah. He's delightful. He's lovely. He's a little country, which like, look, I'm sorry, but if you're a little country, you know how to make something work because you'll tinker with it until it does. And like, that makes me think that's the choice. Like he's a little country. I love it.
That's awesome.
But he literally saved the day. I mean, he managed to get both of the broken machines up and running. And so when he texted me and he was like, Greg has no interest in those machines because Brother's not supporting them anymore. Like they're not making the parts, which means that broken cable is no longer being produced. They're not producing that cable anymore. So the only way to make that machine run is to take the blade out of it. That's it. It's to take the blade out of it, turn it off.
Which at that point, it's really not an industrial anymore because it's not.
It is an industrial because it's all metal and it runs at a certain speed. Yes, but like for what I do, the amount of time it would take me to cut every single set of threads. And then, because like my machine cuts it really short, so I don't have to go back and trim threads. That's the whole point.
Right.
And like occasionally when the settings get off, I'll miss it because I'm not used to having to trim a thread. But like, if you turn that off, you have to trim the thread front and back of everything forever. Like just the number of seams on a DPN, that is 17 seams.
Oh yeah.
On just the pocket that I have to go and snip 17 times. How much time is that? When I can just heel back and it does it for me.
Right.
Heel back does it for me. Heel back does it for me. Heel back does it for me. That's 30 seconds of product.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah. So Tommy is delightful. We love him. So he's, and like, did he text me, I'm going to pick up your sewing machine heads today. I'll set them up. Did he text me, how tall do you want your table to be?
How old is he?
I would guess he's like, he has a son that's my age. So like in his like 40.
So I think that makes a big difference though, because he's of that generation where you have that kind of communication.
I think so.
This
and like,
current generation,
because like he doesn't have a website. He doesn't have a website. I didn't know because like I had looked into Jack sewing machines because they're so much less expensive for the same features. And so I looked into them before, but I couldn't find a Jack dealer in Tennessee. So I was like, well, how would I have found you? He's like, well, word of mouth. I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm not a facility. Like I'm just me. And so when he finally like, he was like, yeah, he's like, I don't want to do technology. Like his little, like, this is how I get an invoice. It's a carbon copy.
That's awesome.
Isn't it great? Is his business name Sewing Stuff? Yes, it is. But he also did not charge me nearly enough, I think, for the service that he performed on my machines, but That's his choice. But he's delightful. But like he texted me, how tall do you want the table to be? How long do you want the table to be? I have them set up. I've sewn them off. They work perfectly. I'm draining them all tonight. Can I drop them off on Friday? I'll be there around the same time I got there last time. Yes, that works. Thank you. Like, and he's doing all the legwork to sell my other 2 machines. I'm not touching it. He's doing all that legwork to sell them for me. And he's not asking for any kind of commission. He's just like, I'll get rid of them for you. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He's just like a really good dude. Like he works with, there's a Catholic mission in Nashville and they have the 7100, which is what I have. And he's constantly going over there to fix it. And they're always like, well, please send us your invoice. He's like, I'm not going to charge a group of nuns who are making, clothes for homeless people. He's like, that just seems like some bad karma. I'm like,
I understand.
Yeah. So he's just like a really decent guy. And like, he texts me, I've got some ideas. Let me contact some people to get rid of those machines for you. I get a text from like every 2 or 3 days. Like he's super communicative.
Wow.
He's super nice. I do appreciate this. Okay. He saw the facility, he saw my sewing studio. And he said, so, what do you contract? And I was like, oh, I make bags. And he goes, yeah, like for who? And I was like, huh? He's like, whose contract do you hold? Thinking that I make bags for like other companies, I guess. Right. And I was like, oh no, me. This is me. These are my bags. And he goes, this is your label? And I was like, yeah, this is my label. Good for you.
Winner, winner. That's the answer.
Correct answer, Tommy. Correct answer. Uh-huh. So he's been super wonderful. And we're really excited about that because now the biggest problem that I had has never been me. It has been me having to track down someone to force them to do their job. And I know that you know exactly who I'm talking about. But like me having to force somebody to do their job or like, okay, like today I go into the studio, I've got to call Dan. Like that just hum in your head is exhausting. And then like, not only am I irritated because he won't call me back, I'm irritated because my machines don't work, Dan, and I have a business here. And like, I think Dan's kind of like, she doesn't really need 3 machines. No, Dan, I do. Like,
yeah.
And like Tommy didn't blink an eye when he's like, how many do you want? I was like, depending on the price, probably 2 or 3. And he was like, okay. And so when he came in with the price, I was like 3. I want 3, hands down. Because if one does go down and it takes him 2 or 3 days to get to me, I have 2 more machines to sew on.
Right.
And so the idea that I will never have a machine go down again, I can have multiple people running machines at once, means that Hankmas might not try to kill me next year or this year.
Like I'm hearing what you're saying, and I hear you say he has like a cut sew facility in his basement stuff. Like to me, I hear that I'm like, oh, so he knows people who are qualified to help you that you could possibly hire at your job.
Unfortunately, he lives in Kentucky.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. But like to me, from Kentucky is only 90 minutes. So that's not a good commute because of where I live. But yeah, he lives right on the Tennessee-Kentucky border. But he has like, he told me, he's like, look, I have a machine with an attachment on it that puts a hem on the bottom of like a button-up shirt. It puts a hem on. He goes, I have a girl who comes and runs that machine 8 hours a day, wide open, which is 5,000 stitches a minute.
Wow.
He's like, I just keep it oiled. I pull the lint out of it. I've never replaced a part.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, not only that, these machines are 20% faster than the machine I previously had. Not that I am sewing at 5,000 stitches a minute. That is not happening. No. I did up it to like 38. I'm trying it out so far. Mixed results.
Wow. That's so fast.
So Tommy is the hero of the season. So excited about my machines. So much easier to use, so much quieter. The blade is, I mean, like if you aren't listening for it, you don't hear the blade cut.
Wow.
It's insane. I left the machine on. I had no idea it was on. I had no idea. Walked out last night. Didn't think twice. Came in this morning. I was like, oh, I forgot to turn the light out because I have a light under the arm for all the detail work I do. And I was like, oh, I forgot. It's a digital. I'm like, oh, I forgot to turn that out. I turned it off and like the LED was still on. I was like, whoops.
Wow. Hey, so totally off topic.
Yeah.
Your camera makes you look really good. And your lighting's pretty darn good too.
That's because somebody I know, I'm not going to say who, somebody recommended these Elgato face cams.
Yeah, right. You're looking good.
And then I got extra lighting. But you know what else is really cool is that their
Isn't the lighting the bomb?
Girl,
It is the bomb.
Look, what you don't know is that I painted the wall right here is teal. And so like that affects your color. So I just changed the temperature of the light to white balance it.
Yeah.
But I also have a downward facing one, but it's pushed out of the way right now. But I also discovered that they're like the, you know, like the, I don't know if you have, I bought the specific arm. Like I didn't know how many I was going to need. So I bought the extra arm.
Yep.
And with one more thing, one $39 piece, I can clamp it onto my photography table and never have to work with a tripod again.
Yep. So I bought over Christmas when they were having all the deals on these Elgato lights when I sent it to you.
Yeah.
I bought 2 more to clamp onto my YouTube studio desk so that I could get rid of my tripods, and which means I also don't have to mount things to my ceiling because that's what I was going to do, remember? Yeah. But now I don't have to do that. And I was like, well, this is a game changer.
Yeah,
they're so good.
I have the main arm, and then I have to get the one that articulates, you know, like the extra thing.
I have that one. That's what this camera's on.
I have my downward cam on the articulating arm, so it can be over and down below my monitor, and that's clamped onto my light. Yes, so that's clamped onto my light, and then I have one more piece. I really only need one piece of the articulating part, but like they sell it in 3s. It's fine. I'll buy it's $39. Like.
Girl, I've got all the parts. The other day I bought I bought this microphone and it has an XLR cord. I didn't realize it didn't come with it. And so I'm opening it all up. I was like, oh man, I was like, oh, I think I have one of those. Of course, I have like several of them.
Sure.
And Robin was like, of course you do. You have everything. And I do. It's just like any other craft, you guys. When you start absorbing and getting all the things that go along with it.
Yeah. So the microphone's probably the next thing that I upgrade, but I freaking love my
it sounds really good.
I still have mine's just it's the Yeti Blue.
That's what I had. That's why
I love it. So when this one dies, I'll probably the next one I buy will be an Elgato because then it's all together and it's one thing to manage or whatever.
That's what I did.
It's been wonderful. It's super easy to use. I love that I can adjust the camera balance. I can all of that. So like that's been really great. Yeah. And it was funny because like I used it for planner camp. Like that's what I got the setup for was I had to have it for planner camp. So I got it for planner camp and they were like, your cameras look so good. Your lighting is so good. I'm like, #Marley made me do it.
Right.
So I was like, y'all think that she doesn't make me do things. Like I do these all the time.
That's so funny.
But yeah, so that's what's going on here. 3 new sewing machines, trying really hard to sew on them, but I got to do all the stupid prep work first.
I understand.
I have to cut the fabric and not have to heat press it. Me.
Well, I actually have a call at 3:00 with my lawyer because I'm in the middle of contract negotiations.
So my husband came in, so I need to go.
Oh, yeah. I need to also grab some food because those little bits of pretzels I was eating. So I was like, I am starving. So I need to go grab some food. But I hope you guys are liking the idea of game day. Like, just trust us. It's
gonna be great.
They're awesome. They're awesome.
Great.
But that's it from us. So I don't know when the next podcast will be, but
sometime in February. It's
really just catching up, guys.
That's it.
This is what it is. This is us. Just come hang out. Get yourself a cup of coffee and your own knitting and crochet and just kind of hang out because it's fun.
Yep.
All right. I think that's everything on our end. I think what I will do here is I will make it so it ends with our image. By the way, did you like our image?
I love our image.
I thought it was cute.
I also love all of the Bitmojis you chose. I was cackling like my screen kept going, your mic is muted. Your mic is muted. Your mic is muted. I'm laughing so hard.
That's funny. That's really funny. All right. So I'm going to, oops. Come on. I just want to make it to where we're ending so that it's like, okay. All right. So here we go. Bye, Lindsay Martin.
Bye, Marley Bird.
So funny.